Ladies and gentlemen, order in the court. Today's proceedings finds the people versus James McGill.
Legal troubles got you down? Bosses refusing to pay out? Hit and run leave you stunned? Drug lords in your future? Maybe not. Because he'll get your case dismissed. He'll get you the defense you deserve. But only if you say the words.
Oh no, I need legal representation. Whatever shall I do? What do I say? Oh wait, I know.
Better call Saul.
Saul. So without further ado, it's time. Let's begin judging Saul. Court is now in session.
You will atone.
All right, Dragon. Here we go once again. We're over halfway over, Dragon.
Yeah.
Only got 4 left.
Yeah, it's kind of sad when you put it that way. It's like we're almost done.
It's like when you're on a vacation and you're like, "Oh man, it's half over. I have to go back in 3 days."
Yep.
All right, so we're getting into season 4, episode 6 of Better Call Saul. This one is very important because it has a special guest director that we'll be talking about in just a moment. The episode is called Pinata. And Dragon, let's jump straight into the backstory on this one, or the the credits.
Yes, so the director of this one, very special director. When I heard this, I knew this guy was going to be directing episode 6, and we kind of teeing that up a little bit here. And I was, oh my god, it was like one of the best things that could happen. The director of this episode is none other than the great Andrew Stanton.
Oh yeah.
Now that name sounds familiar to you folks out there, especially if you're a Pixar fan. You'll recognize that name because he is one of the top tier Pixar directors and writers. I want to stress the writer element of it too. He didn't write this episode, but still, I mean, that's one of the best qualities about this guy. Of course, director of Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, Wall-E, and of course, writer on Toy Story, and writer extraordinaire, the great Andrew Stanton, who coincidentally. This is the second show his second TV show he's ever directed on, and of course he directed John Carter. So it's kind of it's the third live action project that he's done aside for some shots in Wall-E. It's kind of Andrew Stanton started to make a name for himself slowly but surely in the game of live action. I thought he did an excellent job.
And so I will say right off the bat with this episode, I guess quickly, let's get into the writer of the episode, and then I'll get into my kind of thesis statements with it.
Now we have a good recurring writer on Better Call Saul. We have Jennifer Hutchinson. Jennifer Hutchinson was the writer of Lantern and Sunk Cost.
Nice. So this episode, Dragon, it's not my favorite of the season. I definitely don't think it's quite as much of a high bar as the last 2 we've gotten. But by the same point, I mean, this season's been on fire.
I mean, those last 2 are really high bars, to be fair, all right?
I know. But with that in mind, my God, the ending of this episode. I mean, if anything else, the ending scene of this episode is like some Stanton magic, man. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
It's you know what? No, never mind. I'll save it for my final thoughts.
Let me say one thing in regards to the backstory, because how we got Andrew Stanton. That's the one thing I should mention. Is that Andrew Stanton, again, they recognized him from I forget how coincidental this was, but Andrew Stanton, they knew he had done Stranger Things, and that's something they recognized him from. And they were watching season 2 of Stranger Things, and they noticed like the 2 episodes that Peter Gould really liked. The episode where Hopper gets sucked into the essentially gets sucked into the upside down somewhat. He gets kind of sucked into the kind of the underground kind of area between worlds, if you will. And that was an Andrew Stanton episode. That episode and kind of the romance episode, those 2 were both Andrew Stanton's episodes, and those really kind of jumped out to him. And I don't know if that entirely was how they kind of happened upon Andrew Stanton, but here's the fun thing, and we kind of knew this with Incredibles 2 this year. The folks at Pixar are huge Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad fans. But again, this is if we never needed proof in the pudding, Tiki, this episode confirms it. Again, they're not only Breaking Bad fans, they are big Better Call Saul fans. Brad Bird and Andrew Stanton, at the very least, 2 of the top-tier directors at Pixar. I love it.
And of course, Dragon, that gets us kind of like the ultimate wish fulfillment dream of, my God, what if Brad Bird directed an episode down the line?
Okay, that's a thought too tantalizing. Right? I gotta tell you, you know what I really want to see? It's so minimal. It's bear in mind the writer in television. You always got to remember, traditionally in television, writers are king. As in, usually the directors kind of they have like a little spin they can put on it, but depending on the show, like if you do a CW show, the writers make that series. The director's like a dime a dozen. They're kind of basically directing like by numbers. I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean like Kevin Smith said this many a time when he's directed Flash. He's kind of coming into like a machine. You basically kind of boost morale. You basically like you're the pleasant guy who's kind of saying, "Yeah, guys, we can do this, right?"
Oh.
And in this case, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, of course, the Albuquerque verse. They have a set writing style, and I tell you though, I would love to see Andrew Stanton write an episode that line. That's what I really want to see. I got to be honest. That's the thing, because I love Andrew Stanton's one of my writing idols. Like he, Scott Snyder, and Paul Dini are my three writing idols. That's the thing I love to see.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah. So all that said, let's just dive right into it. It's a lot of good stuff to get to here, folks. So, opening.
Okay, so we start with yet another great cold open. This time set in the mail room.
So this is 10 years back. So this is not the earliest we've seen Jimmy. The earliest we saw Jimmy was when Chuck was bailing him out. Well, I'm sorry, we've seen him as a kid. But I mean, we've seen him as a kid twice, and we've seen him as when he was in hot water, and Chuck had to bail him out. So this is like right after that. This is like him, Jimmy's days in the mailroom. He's kind of starting out again. This is 10 years ago, 1993. So he's so because it's 93, the movies of 92 have come out. So we're kind of in the beginning of 1993. And what's happening, Tiki?
Jimmy's going around doing an Oscar pool, and specifically, Dragon, someone bets on the movie Howard's End.
Yes, Howard's End. And
Howard's End.
In case anyone's curious, again, it's a no-brainer, but yes, these are all movies that were up for the Oscar. They got their years absolutely right on this, and it's so funny. A lot of the people in the Oscar pool, they picked winners, oddly enough.
Mm-hmm.
So funny, like Scent of a Woman, Pacino for Scent of a Woman that gets mentioned a little later on. Like that,
he goes his way to the end to the win.
Yeah.
So Dragon, again, I'm sorry, one more time for emphasis because I don't feel like enough people are talking about this. Howard's End.
I was going to save it for spec, but sure, Howard's End.
Well, I'm just planting the seed.
Yeah, but I know I jumped at me too. Don't feel you're not alone on that. I heard that too. Like, oh my, Howard's End.
right.
Because you're thinking like of all the movies they could have chosen.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong. Here's the thing, folks. Ordinarily, a lot of times there are happy accidents in the Albuquerque verse, like the pizza on the roof, for example, or Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. Those are happy accidents. Which, by the way, with the Pixar things, I never get a chance to bring this up. Just real quick. We did have one Pixar movie dropped in the history of Breaking Bad. We did have Ratatouille mentioned in Breaking Bad, which is about cooking. Cooking. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, ordinarily it's kind of like a luck of the draw. But in this case, like of all the Oscar movies they could have picked, Howard's End had to be intentional. All right, so Jimmy's doing the Oscar pool, and he bumps into Kim. This is the youngest we've ever seen Kim, like kind of the earliest we've ever seen Kim Wexler in the Albuquerque verse, right here. So they bump into each other, kind of a young, earnest, Kim Wexler and a young, earnest James M. McGill. And of course, I love that this kind of goes with the fact that Jimmy and Kim they love movies. Of course, we've had this in a relationship since the very beginning. They're big movie buffs, and I love that they've been tapped for the Oscar pool.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they're kind of Kim Wexler of the mailroom years, and she's starting law school because remember HHM bankrolled her law school, so she's very gracious, and of course she's kind of a learning student while she's working there in the mailroom, working her way up the ladder at HHM. She points out that if Jimmy didn't chat up every person when he's getting the Oscar things, maybe he'd be further along. Again, I think that's kind of some setup for kind of the difference in style between Kim and Jim.
Yeah, for sure. And Jimmy's just saying it's called being friendly. It's great for morale.
Yeah. So then a special guest. So again, this is kind of big, though. I mean, again, it's not as monumental as like the open of episode 5, but for this season, this is kind of big. We bring someone back from the dead.
I mean, we expected we'd see this guy again at some point, but
well, sure. I'm just saying it's kind of like the first time in the season. Like it's kind of a big. Hey, we're finally doing it.
And obviously we've seen Chuck like in childhood, but this is, well, I guess the bailing out too. So but this is probably the most this is like the height of the Chuck McGill powers, let's say.
It is.
This is like peak Chuck McGill.
It is because he's doing well. He's getting the applause from everybody, and no electrical allergies. He's doing
That's the one
gangbusters right now.
flashback we still need to see, by the way, Dragon.
I'm with you. I know. I'm dying. We got to see that before
Possibly
the end.
the finale fodder.
I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. So Chuck enters to applause after the Isaacson versus Vicarian Holdings.
I really don't know the legal jargon of this kind of goes over my head a
No,
little.
I got the legal jargon. Just hope I didn't botch the names. That's all.
All right.
So basically, just to summarize a little bit here, basically all this hullabaloo. There was a lot of hullabaloo over the Kim explains this to Jimmy. Explains like what the big deal is. Like why is everybody clapping for Chuck? Like what happened today? What's Chuck's big win today? And the idea is, and again, I think this is going to be set up for something later in the season. So I did kind of pay attention to this here. So basically, there's a lot of hullabaloo over the shares of a company, shares of a Vicarian. That's the Vicarian Holdings. So the shares of this company, the Isaacson family, the Isaacson patriarch dies, but he had these shares from 20 years ago, but the company had dissolved. So basically, that means those shares are null and void. That means they're worthless because there's no company. That original company is gone. So Chuck, he won the unwinnable case. He basically Kobayashi Maru'd the case here, where he won the unwinnable case according to Howard. And he basically he kind of cited some obscure law that basically pulled a bait and switch of the identical company. Basically, this company basically rebranded themselves as an identical company. So that means, okay, well, you're still operating under a very similar name that's identical, the holdings and everything. Therefore, those stocks that were null and void are now void, which means you still owe the money. You follow me on this?
Dragon, I guess. Okay, the legal terminology here. I don't want to dwell on it. It's not really that important to the overall plot.
Okay, look, just the only important thing is that again it was a bait and switch and was an unwinnable case. That's all.
Okay.
All right. So the point is, he got the money. Okay, hooray for Chuck. Chuck meets Kim. Again, which is pretty big. The first time, presumably, the first time Chuck has met Kim Wexler. Seeing like, oh yeah, he probably saw her on paperwork. It's the first time he's meeting her in person. How's it go?
Well, of course, this is a very big revelation here. Is that Kim Wexler is essentially has a schoolgirl crush on Chuck McGill, or at the very least, a very high like adoration of him.
Yeah, she's trying to impress the boss here, and without challenging him, she's like saying, well,
a little more than that, Dragon. I kind of got a little bit of just like, like Chuck McGill is kind of just like, to kind of tie it back to the Mesa Verde thing. He's like this cowboy of lawyering, if you will. It's like he's kind of larger than life, and she's sort of in his shadow a little bit. And
that's fair.
I love the, I love how that contrasts to what we see now. How Kim's just feeling so guilty about basically picking on the sick old man.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's interesting.
Anyways, Jimmy tries to kind of lay out the, I'm sorry, Dragon, do you have the line that Jimmy says?
Essentially, yes. Kim citing her legal knowledge. I'm saying later on. I'm sorry, with the whole Chuck and Kim thing. I love that Kim. She's later on in Better Call Saul, as we know her, she constantly cites like the obscure legal cases, and this is where she got it from. Again, like she idolized Chuck, and of course Jimmy idolizes Kim and Chuck. So of course all this is very relative. Anyway, so Jimmy is basically tries to make he tries to compliment Chuck here, and he says, "Yeah, I guess today was Isaacson versus Isaacson v. Chuck." And of course, he made a mistake there because Isaacson was the client, and of course, Chuck, what he does here is
just again, it's good to see Michael McKean back in rare form of like the, Michael McKean can deliver the passive aggressive, underhanded stuff better than anyone. Dragon, that's his specialty.
And you got to remember how important this is because again, Chuck's been gone for the first part of this, for the first half of this season. We got to remind in like one scene, you have to convey all the issues between Chuck and Jimmy in one scene, while not just bogging it all down. It's like in one little moment.
Me of Dragon.
Yeah,
it's kind of a mirror image of the cold open of Rebecca.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a condensed version of that almost. You know?
Except
It
from
is.
Jimmy's perspective instead of Chuck's perspective, where Jimmy feels emasculated instead of Chuck.
Exactly. So basically, Chuck brushes Jimmy off and say, "No, Jimmy it wasn't." And Jimmy switches. Again, it was an honest mistake that Jimmy made in the moment there. So then Chuck's just brushing. Okay, that's very nice, Jimmy. You know, just you can see him very obviously like snubbing him, very
See, that's
obviously.
the thing about Chuck is that like all his snubbing is always, punctuated by a "That's very nice, Jimmy."
Yes, and you can sense you can feel at the end the way Norm you can feel the hatred that Norman Bates has for the men in Norman's life. You can feel the passive aggressiveness.
Oh yeah, oh
It's
yeah.
so passive aggressive. Anyway, so the Howard has a little cameo again. So this is important too that we see in a little glimpse because this season we haven't seen Howard the way we know him, like we've known him in the other three seasons, like with Chuck,
Uh-huh.
where okay, Howard, it's like good old Howard Hamlin, tie bar, everything. He's just and he's wearing the Hamlindigo blue and everything. And this he's all Hamlindigoed out.
Uh-huh.
He was just kind of swooping in for a little cameo there. Anyway, so let's see. Oh yeah, so then okay, then the two of them basically again Howard's like carting Chuck off, like bragging, like, oh yeah, we're pals, aren't we, Chuck? Anyways, he's kind of going off there and celebrating. And Jimmy has his bit. And again, this is really great foreshadow for what happens in this episode. It's great kind of counterpoint where not just with the Hamlet stuff, but with Kim right here, where she says, where Jimmy says to Kim, "That's going to be you soon." And I love Tiki. I love Ray Seahorn's delivery on this. It's like so classic Kim Wexler and so perfect for what happens in this episode. She just says, "Yup." Just that little pause, and then, "Yup." It's like they're acknowledging their destinies, kind of beginning and like where they're going to end up in that moment. There's like a big foreshadow of what's going to happen. So let's see. So Jimmy's off, and of course, then we have like Howard. Howard's end's already been referenced. We have like "Scent of a Woman" references. Al Pacino's not going to win for "Scent of a Woman." Like "Hoo-Ah's Way to Glory," which again I think that's some Saul Goodman foreshadowing. That's essentially the Saul Goodman arc, a guy who hoo-ahs his way to glory.
Mm-hmm. And
then we had
the hero's call to destiny dragon.
Yes, the legal call to destiny. We have this, and this is a great Stanton shot right here. We have this great shot of the library as Jimmy passes the library and he's lingering. Stanton is a master of kind of like the object in the foreground of importance. Like we're focused on the one thing. We have our guy in the background here, where the library is right there, and kind of Jimmy's off to the side, and he kind of hesitates to go to the library. But again, I would wager to say Kim's vigor, Kim's interest in law. I mean, don't get me wrong, Chuck was always kind of somewhat of an inspiration, at least what kind of drew him to the law and everything. But I think Kim's the motivation. Basically, she was the inspiration behind Jimmy's get up and go from the mailroom to the lawyer to being a lawyer. So enters the library, door closes, boom.
And then that's it. That's her open.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. So present day, we see Kim. She's basically rehearsing her Mesa Verde dialogue like an actor would rehearse lines. And, she's got the public defender folders and she keeps looking at it, Dragon. It's almost like kind of like you're doing homework for school and gosh darn it, you just want to, go online and procrastinate and kill some time. But nope, you can't do it because you got to get the busy work done.
Essentially, and also I think she's recording for like notes to make. I don't know if she's rehearsing, but she's doing the thing where she's talking to the recorder, so it's like notes to be made to the legal documents to give to her assistant.
Uh-huh.
So, yes. Anyway, so she's doing that. And again, this is the framing I'm talking. We have some Stanton. We had a lot of Stanton shots in this episode. And this is one where the PD files are calling to her. So I love that we have emotion in the racking focus. Usually we do that to emphasize kind of like some really good shots and kind of character. But I love we're doing that with kind of there's some emotion behind a lot of what we're seeing in this episode. I think the emotional element of the direction is really that's like the little Stanton signature bleeding through. I might be crazy with that. That's kind of what I interpret from a few my favorite shots coming up. So we'll get there. So yes, those PD files are calling to her, and again some foreshadow there, obviously for again the PD files like her destiny is kind of calling to her. Let's see. Then, and the way she stacks the thing, she stacks it like the Mesa Verde file. The PD's at the bottom, Mesa Verde's on top, and the recorder's on top. It's okay. Direct purpose, and she's trying to mask herself from the PD desire. So Kim finds, and this is the Stanton shot here. Okay, basically, after she's taking care of the Mesa Verde stuff, here's my favorite shot of the episode. Kim goes to bed, and she finds Jimmy asleep. This is such a Stanton shot. She finds Jimmy asleep. with this little notepad like on top. Like he fell asleep while he was doing stuff with this notepad. I love he's caressing this very special notepad. And then like Kim Wexing and Ray Seorange is great. It's so well shot. She basically holds the notepad like it was his diary or like his dream journal or something. And she sees this. It's almost like a kid in school in love, where it's like like a Mrs.
Oh, it totally is, Dragon. That's exactly what it's like. I think.
Like Mrs. Wexler McGill, Mr. Wexler McGill, it's something along those lines,
Exactly.
It's like like that little. It's the old like schoolboy crush, Essentially, that's what's going on here. Where we have this. This is the heartwarming and moving image of the episode for me here, where we see these two really great pages from the notebook here, where again, just Kim standing over the image is great, but then she's looking at this book here, and one says like Kim Wexler banking law, and this is where like the whole like like Mr. and Mrs. thing comes into play here. It's like plus James McGill with every form of law underneath, like James McGill gaming law, James McGill intellectual property law, James McGill bankruptcy law, and again all of those. It just shows that Jimmy wants to be with Kim, and he'll do any form of law that puts him with her. And again, he's like listing all these options of like how he could sell that, how he could looks, and she's seeing that he wants to work with her no matter what, and he's basically banking all. It's a lot of pressure put on Kim in this scene, is what I'm getting at. And then we have here's the clincher, here's the heartwarming clincher here. Then the other page is all the Wexler McGill logos being sketched up. So we see on Kim's face, Kim is concerned by Jimmy pinning his future and a lot of his hopes and a lot of his healing on her, and that makes her uncomfortable. And we saw what happened with Mesa Verde when there's a big grand sweeping plan for the future in play, and that kind of scared her off and kind of put her onto PD work. So this kind of spells doom for their relationship, but at the same time, it's kind of a poignant. Like you feel so, your heart goes out to Jimmy, but you see like, oh man, she loves this guy, but she can't handle this.
I mean, honestly, Dragon, there is a moment in this episode where I do feel like, by all intents and purposes, their relationship dies.
I know it's such a death. Oh my god, we'll get there. Let's see. So okay, so following that, we have again kind of a symbol of things are not right in paradise with the juicer.
This is almost like the Better Call Saul equivalent of the Godfather oranges.
It is.
Thing, folks. We get orange juice.
There's a lot of orange juice, and Peter Gould pointed this. I think Peter Gould was somebody pointing this out on the Inside Pies. There's a lot of orange juice and a lot of use of the juicer because Gordon Smith wrote in the juicer and like the
I feel like the juicer and the goldfish are like the two big. Like the goldfish is gonna die soon, Dragon. I'm telling you.
I know, right? I'm just saying, like sorry, I keep forgetting to do it. I keep meaning to go back to Better Call Saul and see if he has a fish in his office somewhere. That's the thing. We didn't see it when we were in the office earlier. So I kind of put me off from looking for it, but I don't know. I think you're right, but that fish has to die.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's see. Of course, it would have been really scary if Andrew Stanton had done that in this episode. Killing a fish of all the people to kill a fish. Anyway, so the juicer. So basically, Jimmy is trying to overhear. He can't hear because he's putting the juicer. And again, that if you want to look into the thematicism of it all, the juicer represents Jimmy focused on his destiny. He can't hear anything. He can't hear Kim's pleas over his destiny.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a way of reading into it there. Anyway, so let's see. Kim, she's defending the giant horse statue. That's what she was recording the night before, by the way, and that's what she's telling me she was doing. Like basically defending Mesa Verde with all these banks that are being constructed, like the zoning laws of these giant Mesa Verde cowboy statues.
And again, it just kind of speaks to like the ungratifying work that Mesa Verde's become.
Yep. Jimmy tells her,
"We need to see devastated Kevin Wattell, Dragon. We need to see you Kevin Wattell."
I gotta tell you, I think some bad stuff's going to be happening to Kim in regards to Mesa Verde, but again, that's more speculative territory. We'll get there. So Jimmy, again, importantly, we hit the right notes here, like plot-wise. I like how we just kind of get this in a little conversation here. Jimmy tells her that he's got a job, and of course, he tells her that the cell phone store is deader than disco, essentially. She's asking about the therapist, and I love that we have this scene here where she's asking about the therapist, and he just she's doing all the right things in a relationship, Tiki, and I think that's so important. That's something we overlook so much in storytelling and in television these days. And these are the important things, that we have like an open, honest relationship. So that basically, it's basically building up the fall. So when these two go off the rails, it's gonna be, oh my god, they were such a perfect couple. Jimmy very rationally explained.
One of the big things we've been tracking through the past few episodes is like, is Jimmy gonna lie to Kim? And we get it, like, basically in this episode, the heartbreaking thing, just to fast forward a little bit, is no, Kim lies to Jimmy
I
because
know.
he has a chance to.
God, that's the mind bender of the season. There, yeah. You'd expect that. You bet all the money in Vegas that
this season's equivalent of the Hamlin reveal, right?
Essentially, yeah.
Charlie Hustle.
So Jimmy very rationally explains that therapy is not necessarily right for him. Basically, the things that we were reading into the episode, he's basically saying, again, it doesn't feel like just like spelling out the obvious. It feels like an open and honest scene between characters here. We're saying, explains that therapy is not right for him. He's trying to move forward with things. So again, very open conversation, understand. And I love that he's addressing that. He's telling Kim, like, I mean, is this okay? The fact that he's asking, is this okay? And of course she sees that, who am I to tell him he has to go to therapy? So again, Kim's not a bad guy in this situation at all. That's also important because, again, she could easily fall into a Skylar White this season.
Not a bad guy, but I do feel like this is like the point where, again, their relationship is like just, it's nobody's fault, because I feel like it's equally like, it's that classic example of like, it's like on both ends, it's kind of, it's not you, it's me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, very easily this season, Tiki, she could fall into the, again, I'm gonna be a little nicer here. Let's just say the season 2 Skylar White effect. It could very easily get into
that's the worst Skylar White.
I'm just using that as a point of example because I don't want to just rag on Skylar White all the time. I'm just saying that, basically, like,
if we want to rag on Skylar White, specifically season 2 is the worst Skylar White.
That's what I'm saying. Let's just, as point of example, it could, if that it's worse, it could be like something like that, or basically we do all the conventional things where it's like, okay, we just kind of amp it up. It's like, okay, you can't have an open, honest relationship with this one. We see the complete opposite with Kim Wexler here, where. So again, like Kim's, she's not, she's very accepting. She's not making him feel guilty at all. She's like, is this okay? She says, yeah, sure, it's okay. And I know, I love that Jimmy acknowledges that I know you wanted me to do this. And again, like, she's just completely open and honest, and she sees this. But I love that you can see the hurt conveyed on Ray Seahorn here, where she's, you should do what you feel is best. And then
the acting this season, like, it's a tour de force and subtlety, Dragon. It's like they're acting so subtly it'll knock your pants off, man.
I just feel the critics, and at the end of the season, they're going to be like, I mean this in a good way. They're going to be like, did I just watch a season of television? I mean, because it was so subtle. I don't know if I actually watched season 4. It's just so subtle. I think it just slipped by me.
All right.
No, but again, the heartbreaking moment here is like when Jimmy's asking on Kim here is that Jimmy's asking, you want to do sushi tonight? And then basically this is the thing we've been building up for the first half of the season here, where Jimmy's trying to get into this circular thing of like, things are fine. I'm just going to move forward and not deal with my problems. And Kim is afraid of this. Like, this is the full circle. Like, just Jimmy's not really he's not dealing with his issues. And he's just like, yeah, we can just do this every night. I can bring food home and you're going to live on our happy life. So this and the fact, and I love this shot, Dig, it's one of those Stantonisms. Jimmy takes the notepad along with his keys, and you see Kim look at that shot, and she's devastated. You can read it behind the face. Like, she's devastated. Oh, no, he's getting the sushi, and he's taking the notepad. I'm screwed.
Right.
Like, it's conveyed so well in that little bit. He gets that little bit because he's doing the notepad so well this episode. I'm sorry, I'm getting hung up on the notepad. Let's go to the next scene.
That's fine.
Next scene.
All right, so we see a giant warehouse with 2 trailer houses inside of it. As you do with the Davu Fring universe.
I think you were jumping ahead there. We're at Schweiker and Coakley after this.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Shoot.
So
I don't know why. I don't know how I got my notes mixed up there, Dragon. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll get there soon enough. Anyway, yeah, I think it's the next scene. But okay, so anyway, so Schweiker and Coakley. So Kim, she's going to Schweiker and Coakley, and I wonder if Kim just knows in that scene she's going to have to break Jimmy's heart. I wonder if she knows what she's going to do at later in the episode, because again, she's going to Schweiker and Coakley right after that scene. So it makes me think in that moment she realizes what she has to do. I don't know. Something to think about. So we're at the offices of Schweiker and Coakley, and it's really swanky, by the way. It's the first time we've been inside the office, aside from one of the rooms. Nice and upscale. So she's visiting her old friend Rich Schweikart, who, by the way, again, I love how much growth we've had with this character. By the way, because remember the first season, he was kind of the quote unquote bad guy.
Yeah, Dragon, you've got to remind me. Like, him and Jimmy have bad blood between each other, right? You got to remind me exactly what that is.
So here's the thing. So Rich Schweikart, they're not. They're not. It wasn't bad, but it was kind of like a Hamlin thing almost. It's more like he was an adversary legally because they were on opposite ends of the bench essentially. Where Schweikart, he defended Sandpiper Crossing, which of course was at odds with Jimmy that season. And initially, again, Jimmy, like, he thinks the guy's a little rich and pretentious, but again, kind of like a pretentious upscale lawyer making fun of him. But again, Rich Schweikart's not a bad guy at all. I'll make that clear. Rich Schweikart, he's a decent guy. And of course, he really befriended Kim in a big way when she needed a friend. And, Jimmy, like, he saw Schweikart at the funeral. And, I mean, the last interaction they really had before the funeral was, Jimmy across the table when he was working with Chuck to kind of go up against Sandpiper Crossing. Like, again, the only hostility they've had has been in the legal sense, but personally, I think they're okay now.
I remember the restraining order, but I guess that was like more of a legal restraining order against, like, no, he can't be soliciting to my clients.
That's what I'm saying. That's pretty much like the extent of it. So basically, that's the only bad blood they have with each other.
Gotcha.
I think they're cool at this point. Again, I'm basing on the funeral that we saw. So they shook each other's hand. It all seemed fine, but you never know. So again, Rich has been really good friends with Kim, though. We've set that up for a long time now, and the idea is that Kim sends all of her clients that she can't do to Rich Schweikart, and Schweikart, he's very grateful. Thanks for sending us Billy Gatwood, the guy that she was going to do before the car accident.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I love that. There's that sense of friendship, and he offers. I love that little bit where he offers a signer cast. It's just really nice. Like, do people still do that?
Do people do that anymore?
So she, was asking how Jimmy is. I didn't really get to talk to him a lot at the funeral, and I love that Kim has changed her answer here, like what she told Kevin Wachtel. Now she's telling Schweikart, who she's closer with. We're taking it one day at a time, which is like spelling disaster for the later payoff. It's like, oh
yeah.
no.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see. So and Schweikart gives really good advice of, like, grief's different for everyone, which of course I think is advice Kim needs to take to heart. But out
specifically,
yes.
Yeah.
So let's see. Kim's asking about just to boil this down a little bit here. Kim's asking about Schweikart and Coakley's banking division. He admits, well, we don't really have one. We don't do a lot of banking stuff. And then, of course, we have this great moment here where she says, "Would you like one?"
Boom, hard cut.
Now we enter the warehouse. Here we go.
All right, now get to the warehouse, and this is like classic Gustavo Fring imagery right here, Dragon.
Yes, and we again really well shot to this giant. It's in all black at first, and we enter like these two little figures in like the little beam of light. And as we enter this giant warehouse, and of course we reveal a big trailer, and then not just one big trailer, two big trailers in a big warehouse.
All right, the practicalities of shooting in this warehouse fascinate me after listening to the Insider podcast, I gotta say.
From what I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong here, from what I recall, I believe the warehouse was like a placeholder idea. They didn't think, okay, we'll put it down for now, like it's a giant warehouse, with two trailers in it, and we'll come up with something better down the line. That's kind of stuck with it.
I
believe that's how it went. It's kind of, again, it's like one of those happy accidents where I think it looks great. I like it. I think you're right. It does. It just feels very Gustavo Fringus.
Well, it's kind of like it's quintessential Vince Gilligan imagery, where it kind of reminds me of the idea of like the mobile meth lab.
Yeah,
it's like unconventional but practical.
Yeah. So Gus, the idea is Gus is consulting Mike.
Oh yes, I totally forgot about that. Yes.
Oh, no, we got him like all set up now. So we got to. Gus is consulting with Mike, his security consultant, on this. And of course, folks, would be remiss if mentioning Mike, if we did mention.
We love Mike.
We love him! That's right. We love Mike, not just Mike, the actor Jonathan Banks, who, again, coincidentally, was in Incredibles 2 as Rick Dicker. Again, a little Pixar connect there. And lo and behold, we like to tally up our little love of Mike Ehrmantraut by having like a little way of signifying that. Of course, we're going to have up to 6 episodes for 6 images from the 6 episodes of the season. So
And honestly, I really love the idea of him, like, commandeering all these German guys in the warehouse. So I made it a big image in the collage strike, and I gave it a central presence.
It's cool. It looks vaguely like a scene from Hoosiers or something, where basically he's like coaching a basketball team in that shot. I gotta be honest.
All right.
The Gene Hackman fans out there, Hoosiers. What if that was nominated? Anyway, sorry, the Oscar thing's still ringing in my head a little bit from earlier. Okay, so basically, this is we're kind of at a base camp. The idea behind all of this is that it's a base camp to house the engineers so they're close to the laundry. Basically, they're a car ride away from the laundry. It's far enough away so it won't arouse suspicion. And, they basically will be isolated and kept under the same roof. So that's the idea behind this place. And, of course, by the laundry, I mean the construction of the super lab that we'll see years later in Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So Mike, he explains to Gus that not only do you have to keep them happy, you got to keep them entertained, so they're not crawling the walls. So basically, they're going to be locked down here. They're going to have to live here for a while, and you can't just do the trails. You got to kind of keep them entertained, so they're not so they're not encouraged to break out of the place or leave the place. Like, they should never want to leave the location. Easiest way of doing that is keep them happy. With a bunch of things. Mike is basically making a list to fring here. I love that Gus didn't consider this, that only Mike. Again, Mike being...
like Santa Claus.
Oh my God, yes. I love that. Again, this is what Mike brings to the table. Mike's he's the blue collar guy. He knows what people want. He knows what the working professional needs.
I think the bar is the big, like, the big trump card in this whole setup, Dragon. I gotta say, especially for the Germans.
I think it has like the best Jonathan Banks delivery here. Stock bar, beer on tap. Germans, they like that. Mike has something against Germans, but I don't know, maybe not something against you. He's always emphasizes the German. Have you ever noticed that? Like the third time, he does it 3 times so far. Did it with Lydia saying, Germans, you're all about efficiency, aren't you? And then he's doing it here. Germans like, the German beer, and then of course Germans like basketball, don't they? It's like he's always emphasizing the Germans.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what is he going to do? It's just the people he's working with.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying, it's like he's been doing it even before the Germans really entered the fray. Anyway.
I haven't noticed that, but...
So, like, basically the whole place is going to be decked out with stuff like entertainment center, lazy boys, pool table, basketball court. Because, and this is one of my favorite bits of writing here. I love that Mike's spelling out the fring here that, okay, Warner says 6 months, which means we should prepare for 8 to 10 months in isolation. And of course, it's Gus's responsibility. Again, Gus trusts Mike implicitly. Saying, make a list. Gleefully, like Gus Fring's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Make a list. So, also, Mike is establishing the security cam setup, which of course we're going to see all over the place in Breaking Bad season 4. So we're seeing the origin of that, of like Gus Fring having these contingencies of security cams and everything.
Right. I didn't think about how important that would be until you brought it up. Sure.
We have 2 really big nods to Breaking Bad seasons 4 and 5 in this episode with the security cams. One with, again, season 4 right now. Later on, we'll get to that when we get there. So let's see. So again, which basically means they need a third trailer on the outside to monitor what's going on the inside. And we have I love the framing of the tiny Gus Fring, and a lot of the shots of kind of Mike pointing out what they need and everything around this warehouse. Shot like the end of Casablanca. It's like all these beautiful friendship shots, of just these 2 guys like on the giant airport tarmac almost. Like a little fun in the frame in there. So Tyrus comes by. What's Tyrus tell Gus, Tiki?
Basically something about cryptically, it's not looking good, essentially, right?
Yes, Hector's got an infection. Basically, he's got an infection, which means Hector's got an infection, which is not good. So Gus excuses himself, and it's up to Tyrus to procure the list. Tell him anything you need, he will get it. And we have this beautiful bit here. This is summarizes Mike and Tyrus. We never really spent a lot of time with Mike and Tyrus, and this is kind of like fun, where Mike asks, "You got a pen?" And he says, "I'll remember." Sure. That just summarizes that. That's all I really ever need to know about these 2. I got to be frank. I love to see more, but that's really all I need just to kind of get what that working relationship's like.
I tell you, Dragon, through 2 different TV shows, Tyrus might be one of my least favorite characters in the Breaking Bad verse.
Tyrus is funny to me. You know why? And they do it here too. Tyrus is.
I feel like Tyrus is just like he just needs to get that stick out of his ass.
That's what I'm saying. Like Tyrus
But you
is
find
kind of
that amusing. You find the said stick amusing.
essentially. Here's the thing. Like in this episode, like I always remember the bit with Tyrus where it's like, does the laundry have to be dirty?
Nope.
No. Like that line, that's just that he has that cocky smile on his face all the time. You know, he's got that cocky like, I don't know. It's like he's just so cocky. That's what he is. You know, he's just always like, I'll remember. Like, you really need to show off that you'll remember. Like, just write it down. Don't be a show off. You know, like you really need to. That's Tyrus.
All right.
Okay, so Jimmy's at work. He's calling about the Wexler McGill sign. You know, he wants. Also, he's sketching ideas, and one of those sketches is a bus bench.
Yes, and also, yeah, bus bench, very cool, very cool. But the one I really like, Dragon, is the drum one, which is, I believe, a direct nod to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Huh.
I don't know. Anyway.
No, I think you're on the money. I could have sworn that was. I heard that somewhere. I don't know. I think you're right about that. Honestly.
All right.
So he basically he wants giant W. You know, basically wants a giant Wexler McGill sign, giant W, giant M, and he's looking for.
I feel like the giant WM, like the branding, it's maybe a turnoff to Kim from the Mesa Verde stuff.
Quite possibly, and that tracks with her character again. Like Kim Wexler is a very simple, as a girl of simple taste here, where she does not want giant gestures of romance or commitment. Again, Kim Wexler at the end of the day, she's kind of afraid of commitment at the end of the day when you really think about it. And again, like a huge casino-sized sign is not really in Kim Wexler's wheelhouse, because that's what Jimmy's looking at here. And I love the mundanity of like, okay, if you need a big sign, well, if you can't do it here, you're gonna have to outsource like a giant sign, like giant letters. Like call Robert Downey Jr. He's got giant letters. So he's interrupted by a call from Brett Dunst. Now, Brett Dunst. By the way, I heard that Andrew Stanton did the scratch for this. I wanted Andrew Stanton to be. When I heard that, I was like, "Oh my god, wouldn't it be great if you did this?" I got excited,
Dragon. I really did.
Again, when I heard that on the Inside Podcast, I was like, "Oh my god, they did the Pixar tradition where Andrew Stanton always does a movie where he does the scratch dialogue somewhere." And I was so excited, and I was thinking, "Oh my god, did I miss something?" Oh my god, I remember that guy, but I didn't think it was Andrew Stanton. I was about to at the minute they said, I was about to like pause it and go back in the episode and watch that scene, but no, it was all for naught, folks. Sorry. It's a SAG rule. You know, Screen Actors Guild. I don't know. Probably isn't a rule. I'm sorry, it didn't actually turn out that way. But anyways, Brett.
I doubt that's a SAG rule, actually.
No. I'm kidding. I mean, sometimes you have to hire actors before you. I don't know. Sometimes there are situations where something like that does come about, but it's not necessarily like the way I'm phrasing it. Like there. I'm sorry. Point being, Brett calls. What does he want, Tiki?
Yeah, he's asking. He's asking about his aunt who just died.
Of course, literally, Destiny's calling, asking, "Hey, are you James McGill, the lawyer?
Lawyer who worked in elder law."
Mm.
Geraldine Strauss, Dragon. We get the death of Mrs. Strauss.
This bummed me out, and I love that we gave her a good send off here. I really did. Yeah, she's.
Now, of course, the big important thing here is the.
He was the first.
What?
I'm sorry. You go on.
Yeah, the fate of the Alpine Shepherd boy. And Dragon. Now, this is the way I'm reading this, and of course, a lot of this season is kind of this Rorschach test of emotions. I read it as Jimmy was genuinely concerned that it went to the person that Mrs. Strauss wanted it to go to, and he's not going to rip it off.
Here's the thing. So, that was my first instinct, where Mrs. I got to be honest with you. So, Mrs. Strauss. Of course, you got to remember, she was the one that put him on to elder law in the first place. And of course, yes, it introduced the Alpine Shepherd boy and of course all the Hummels and everything, which in this season have really rewarded Jimmy in a big way. And Tiki and I have been speculating on the Alpine Shepherd boy being a target because of all the various Alpine Hummels, all the various Hummels that she possesses. Now, I think he meant it, but I think the Saul Goodman part, like the second, I think he felt the emotion. He asked about like where it went first. I think when he's asking where it went, but he's asking, I think if I'm recalling correctly, he asked about the Alpine Share Boy. So I think a part of him is like that Saul Goodman in effect asking what happened to the Alp. I think a part of him is hoping that it didn't go to the nephew. I think
Uh-huh.
that's why he's lingering on it. That's the thing. I think he's asking out of concern, but I think it turns into like a backhanded opportunity. If that makes any sense, is that I think he's open to the opportunity, but again, I think first and foremost, like he's emotionally affected by it.
And of course, importantly for this season, this is the first time we've really seen Jimmy grieve in any sort of normal way.
It really dawned on me this episode, the loss of Mrs. Strauss Tiki, that grief is a big thematic thing we've been doing ever since the beginning of Better Call Saul. Think about the people that we've lost, and all the theme of grief all across the board. Tiki, think about it. We lost Marco. Jimmy lost Marco in the first season.
Uh-huh.
Of course, Mike's dealing with the loss of Maddie, which of course we've seen from the beginning, and of course big time here with episodes like Talk, Chuck, and now most recently Mrs. Strauss. So I mean, yeah, it's really
And the interesting thing about this show is that the deaths don't really light the world on fire the same way that the Breaking Bad deaths do, and they're not as flashy. But you can really feel the impact of them, and each death in the show really has a storytelling significance.
There's more of an aftermath to this death than there is in Breaking Bad's more spectacle of like the surprise.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, so let's see. So after so yeah, so he's asking about the Hummels. This calls back the connection that he had to her, and like he knows all the nephews and all the family. He had all the conditions. She has various conditions about if they achieve these things in life, then they get the Hummels. But again, a part of it might be him asking Saul Goodman based on like that Hummel thing that we set up so well. So I wonder
very simply be him fishing for information. It really could be.
And I love that we can't tell. I like that we can't tell, though. Isn't that cool?
I know. That's what I really like, the ambiguity.
So, and here's again, this is what makes you second guess yourself. What follows this here, where Jimmy learns that he can't make the funeral because it already happened, or be the lawyer to the family because again, he'd be putting himself at great risk if he did that. And I think here's my big reel in the episode, Tiki. I think emotionally, our big theory about the emotional pinata, I think Jimmy McGill, not Saul Goodman, but Jimmy McGill is the emotional pinata. He takes the emotional beating this episode. Sure, and because I think this is like the big kind of him being hit with the metaphorical bat right here. Like, he can't, the life that he had as like the elder law lawyer with a heart of gold, it gets kind of kneecapped in this scene right here. And he refers the nephew to HHM. I think Jimmy's really truly devastated with the whole Mrs. Strauss and what it represents to him because of course we have visually again. This is the Stanton charm right here. One of my other favorite shots of the episode. Jimmy goes to this box of VHS tapes, and he plays the first commercial he ever made. First commercial he ever made was the whole "Gimme Jimmy" ad, and Mrs. Strauss. Of course, they use the dolly shot with Mrs. Strauss. And it's this beautifully, he pauses it. We even pause it too. We have this beautifully sad moment where Mrs. Strauss is like has the Vaseline to make her cry on cue.
That be?
And again, Tiki, this to me is the symbol for Jimmy grieving this season. Again, it's a perfect visual shot of Jimmy grieving and Jimmy like he's dealing with the loss of Chuck through this in part. Like this is him like dealing with grief in a way that didn't, again, like he's moved past the Chuck thing. He's not dealing with the implications of it, but again, he might not feel anything for Chuck given their last interaction. He does feel something for Mrs. Strauss though.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like all of that just perfectly, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So all of that perfectly captured in one shot. That's what I was getting at there.
Yeah. And just in case Jimmy's day couldn't get any worse, Kim calls basically like, hey, Jimmy, I'm going to turn your entire view of life upside down.
So we begin the scene, like with the transitioning point is, he gets like the last ties of Jimmy McGill on the path to Saul Goodman. And by the end of this episode, at the end of this next scene, we're going to have, Jimmy's going to be in a place by the very end of this episode where he's going to have nothing but Saul Goodman left. I think this episode, Tiki, secretly, again, so subtly, so secretly, I think this episode's the death of Jimmy McGill.
No, I think the death of Jimmy McGill is honestly coming up in this scene, Dragon. I really do.
Well, I mean, the whole episode. I mean, the whole, the whole. That's the
Yeah, I
testament.
know, but like the whole like you can pinpoint a heartbreaking. It's like this moment is like we'll get to it. We'll get to
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I agree with you fully. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Your phrase. Yes, you absolutely agree with you. So anyway, so Kim, and this is the horrible irony of it all too. We go to the same restaurant, the same hotel restaurant where, they pulled I believe it was like the $10,000 Ice Station Zebra scheme. The scam, but again, another Slip and Kimmy scam. With Giselle St. Clair and all that. So Kim calls Jimmy, invites him to the very same restaurant. They pull the con. He says, yeah, maybe we don't have to be Giselle and Victor with a K. And of course, we have this beautiful, again, it's so heartbreaking in this whole scene here where Jimmy's like, she's saying, Jimmy and Kim, they're not bad. Rumors and hearsay. Again, it's that line by Kim. It's so charming. Rumors and hearsay.
Yeah, it's just like Kim is just like she can't help but be like, yeah, no, this is not going to go well.
So Kim fibs.
Basically, the equivalent of this is like the adult equivalent of the classic breaking up over milkshakes at the malt bar.
Essentially. So Kim, she kind of fibs out of she lies. I'm just saying, like, she's not necessarily. Here's the thing, like,
no, she's lying.
You're right. Here's the thing, she's lying, but it's a real wait and see to see how big she lied. Again, we don't know how big some stuff happened off screen, but we know she's lying. We don't know how big a lie this is. What she's doing here, again, but by what we have to work with in the episode is that she's fibbing in a huge way. It's either fibbing in a huge way or small lie. One of the two. she's kind of she's lying about this out of the blue job offer, as in basically like she was called by Schweiker and Coakley and offered a job, which of course we saw did not happen. So that's the fib of the episode. That's the big falsehood. To run the banking division for Schweiker and Coakley, which of course, again, she created that job title, that banking division, all of that she created. So again, that's the big lie that Kim's telling here, which of course tracking the lies is a huge reveal. Which basically this is her way of securing that Wexler McGill cannot happen because she'll be busy with PD work and of course with the stuff here with the Mesa Verde.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is something that she orchestrated, which she basically Tiki, the big j'accuse of it all is that she pulled a con on Jimmy here. That's the heartbreaking thing. You really think that she pulled a con on Jimmy.
I mean,
and Jimmy never did that on her.
In a thematic way, yes. I mean, I don't think a white lie is as elaborate as a con, but like thematically, when you look at it, sure.
That's fair. I think you're right about that. My phrasing that, but now you say it though. I think Jimmy's going to interpret it as a con. I'll meet you halfway there. I think it's more of a lie than a con, but I think he's going to interpret it as a con all the same. So, Kim, she tells him, again, she's all-inclusive with the information, aside from that one big lie there. Aside from that one little lie. She says, I like helping people with the public defender work. And, again, Tiki, this is the only thing that feels like a con within this lie right here, what happens here. Okay, so Kim's armed with information that she shouldn't have in this scene. Where Jimmy says, oh, yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about getting into criminal law, too. That's my plan once you get the law license back. And she knows that he has like all these, like he's basically going to go along with whatever law that she wants to do. And again, she knows that he's been prepared to do this, and she has that line. Really, again, her saying that is like, okay, I gotta break his heart right here. That's kind of her in the scene, like I gotta clip his wings. And basically, she has to spell it out. It's like she's beating him while he's down right here. So Kim knows, and Jimmy doesn't, about the whole. I love the fact that this moment here is why Saul, to me, and this is my read on, I think this moment here of like Jimmy saying, oh, I'm going to get into criminal law because you're getting into criminal law, is why Saul Goodman becomes a criminal lawyer. But I think Kim creates that main focus of Saul Goodman in this moment here. That was my read.
Kind of a counterpoint to the entering the library moment.
Again, Kim inspired him to do good legally. Now Kim's inspiring him to do bad legally, somewhat.
Uh-huh.
So let's see. So So Jimmy's planning on, again, this might be some big Saul Goodman setup here, is why I stress this. So Jimmy's talking about going to some refurbished bungalows by the courthouse, and we don't know exactly where Saul's located geographically, so we'll see if that comes true this season. And then we have this sad yet beautiful Kim's reaction as she's spelling things out to Jimmy here, and you see the heart. If you really look at this scene, Tiki, on a rewatch, like she's covering her mouth because you can see that she doesn't want to let on that she's heartbroken by Jimmy's plans here for the future, and she knows what she has to do in this scene. And again, so linking up with the opening so sadly and so poetically.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Kim tells and basically spells it out that we can't do Wexler McGill, knowing how important this is to him. Again, we echo the opening, of course, where she set Jimmy on a path, and now she's kind of cut him off from the path. Like, they're both on diverging paths, is what I'm saying. They're both taking these. They were taking different paths then, and now they're definitely taking different paths now. And again, Kim kind of inspired him, and now Kim's like saying, "No, you and I, we're not going on the same path right now." Which leads Jimmy to excuse himself, and she knows that he's not going to the bathroom. She knows that she's broken the poor boy's heart.
Yeah, and Dragon, this moment right here is the death of Jimmy McGill.
And again,
right here, this is it.
And I love how we focus on that big a moment here, where Jimmy's basically what we emphasize that Jimmy's going around the kitchen, where the kitchen's all loud and clangy and everything, a lot of noises. And we hear what we can kind of see on Jimmy's face going on here, where Jimmy's future, his hope in his future, Jimmy McGill's future and hope, is crashing down around him in this kitchen full of noises and like things being chopped and sliced and diced and everything. And again, I think that's Jimmy comes back, and I love that in Jimmy McGill's final moments here, he says, "I say do it." And again, like that's like the last kindness that he pays Kim Wexler. And folks, I'm sorry, I meant to address it at the time. We got to address this here, all right? Because Tiki and I were glowing all constantly through Better Call Saul, and yes, we're aware, kind of a broken record about the whole. And this is the death of Jimmy McGill, and this is it'll birth the path of Saul Goodman. It's leading. It's all leading us.
I think the way that they linger on the shot and the way that Odenkirk portrays it, like they don't have to spell it out. It's just there.
It is. I'm just saying, like, you got to bear in mind, folks, in this prequel show, and that's the thing I want to highlight for a moment here, is that's the brilliant thing this show does. It kind of pulls the same trick almost every episode, if not at least at some point every season, where, again, there's a moment where, okay, the formation.
Last season, it was the whole episode 9 fiasco.
Exactly. And Tiki, like, I know we sound like a broken record, but the amazing thing is we're still on the hook with it. It hasn't gotten old once. That's impressive, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, so Jimmy, like in his seemingly last moment, but again, important last, big thematic last moment.
Here's the thing, Dragon. I feel like there's shreds of Jimmy McGill all the way up until what we see in the cold open from last week. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Jimmy McGill dies. We don't mean it literally by any stretch, but to me, this is the point where Jimmy McGill, like, he stops trying to be the good guy, I think.
Yeah. I mean, basically, if you want to, the minutia of it is there's a side of Jimmy McGill, and the elder law side of Jimmy McGill, like the altruist, basically the side that Kim Wexler gave birth to at the top of it, at the top of the episode, the cold open. That side of Jimmy McGill dies in this episode. That's the thematic emphasis. That's like the legal dear heart Jimmy McGill. That's the one who dies in the scene. His last action is like, I say you do it. He's not hindering Kim. He's basically doing what he did in the cold open right here, Tiki, in his final moment here, where he says, I say you do it. He's not holding her back. He's saying, you go, you be the next Chuck McGill of the PD world. You do that.
And Dragon, that's exactly the thing. I feel like this action that Kim has taken is the closest thing that Jimmy's seen to her being like Chuck, and it just rocks his world. And I feel like he's very quickly, like, not necessarily gotten over her, but his love for her in that moment dies along with his Jimmy McGill persona. I really think that that's just the way Jimmy's mind operates. It's like, this is a betrayal to him. This is a no back type scenario.
Yes, and something else from the Kim Wexler side of things, that really dawned on me. I want to get your thoughts on this. I wonder, because Kim seems a little surprised by that answer, And I wonder if Kim wanted Jimmy to fight her on this in order, just purely in order to help him heal. So basically, get a reaction from him. I'm not saying she was lying about anything. She was, you know, what I mean, I don't mean she wasn't just doing all of this to get a reaction. I'm saying she's actually doing this. But I wonder if she was hoping that Jimmy would fight her on this and not be as like, you know, accepting of it. I think that was like he wanted to get a reaction out of him, so he would. She was hoping to hear just to prove that okay, he's feeling emotions and he's going to be on the path of healing, even if I do this to him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So and of course, again, we echo that line. Oh my God, we echo that line. You got to do what's best. Jimmy says to her again earlier. She said this to him in the episode. Jimmy's saying in this heartbreaking manner, you got to do what's best for you. In 10 months, a lot can happen.
And that's just like kind of like a crazy promise to the fans. It's like, hey guys, it's going to be a wild ride.
And again, you wonder, maybe Jimmy's going to try to win her over with kind of the Saul Goodman course of action. I don't know. We don't know 10 months, folks. Anyway, okay. So, back to Mike. Oh, by the way, we've done the thing again where we're linger on the mic.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
I've just noticed because we're so enamored with all this Jimmy and Kim stuff, folks.
All right.
To be fair, we're about to tackle Mike. So I guess you can leave. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's go. So Mike.
Right.
Mike visits Stacy.
Yes. And this is a great scene for me, Dragon, because it's like, to me, this is like the most average, mundane scene of the episode, but it counterbalances everything else perfectly because it's Mike Ehrmantraut in a situation where, you know, like very few things shake Mike Ehrmantraut, Dragon, but family domestic drama is one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he is so uncomfortable in this scene.
I'll tell you the danger with Mike in the future. I don't mean this like a bad way it's going to affect the show. I'm saying something with Mike's importance that he imparts on family here. I wonder, and again, this scene it's a Rorschach test. I felt there was a bit of a Rorschach element to the scene, Tiki. I felt.
Isn't every scene this season a Rorschach to some extent, Dragon?
A lot of them, pretty like 90%, Tiki. 90% of the seasons. 90%. Here's the thing. So, but Mikey visits Stacy to apologize for the events of talk, or basically called out another patient, and
you to talk. I talked.
And I love that Mike in this scene again, the classic Jonathan Banks, and the way he goes about this scene is like, "Hey, I meant what I stand by what I said, but I realized it was the inappropriate time to bring it up, so I apologize." He apologized to
like perfect apology on my end. Like that's the way you do it.
It is, and Tiki, here's the Rorschach of it all here. I wonder if maybe it was too perfect an apology. What I'm getting at with that is that I think in the future, it'd be something interesting to track, is that Mike, ever since that episode, ever since talk, ever since just that moment where she kind of momentarily forgot about May, I like to think it's a reconciliation, but I wonder if maybe a tragedy with Mike. And again, kind of feeding into your whole, like, yeah, he didn't really walk up to the house that time he dropped off Kaylee in Breaking Bad, which maybe suggests a little bit of distance. Again, we could just be totally reading into that because, again, they didn't know what they were going to do here at that point, but you never know. If they want to retroactively make that count. I wonder if Mike going forward, he approaches family. Basically, every element aside from Kaylee, like the whole Stacy of it all, I wonder if he kind of treats her like he would treat Gus Fring and basically kind of have like the perfect, basically the smart responses. Again, he's kind of, if he gets kind of more uniform in how he treats, Stacy, and like he's saying the right things, he's doing the honorable stuff, he's doing all the right things. I don't know. It's something to pay, something to note in the future, maybe,
Sure.
Like maybe he's just basically going to be kind of treating Stacy, he's going through the motions, because again, ever since at the end of that episode, he went back to Fring, and therefore, like he's more comfortable being kind of his persnickety, kind of like the guy who knows how to do everything. And I think he's just applying that knowledge into his personal life with Stacy now, and because that's the only life, that's the life he committed to at that point. I don't know. I'm fine with the obvious though. I like the obvious solution. A good old Mikey made up with Stacy. We have this beautiful moment in the scene where she says, "Pop, I'd never forget about Maddie," which is a beautiful scene. And he says, "Are you and Kaylee okay?" And this scene just made me like almost shed a tear here, where it says, "Are you and Kaylee okay?" She says, "Yeah, then I'm good."
Yep.
Come on, that's beautiful. And then of course, I believe. And then she calls him Pop in the line after that, where she says, he offers to pick up Kaylee from school and says, "That would be a help, Pop. See you then." And it's like we do so much with so little with Mike, and it goes like miles. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, meanwhile, Jimmy. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Jimmy is visiting HHM, and Tiki, we've been calling this from the beginning, and we finally got it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, Jimmy's visiting HHM, and HHM is in complete disarray. It's being
It's in
reorganized.
shambles. It's in shambles.
And we knew this was
Dragon
coming. We didn't
Howard
know how this
Hamlin's
was going to
fancy
happen.
lifestyle, his caviar and his golf and his houseboats
And this is
seemingly ripped right out from under him.
And Tiki, again, 101, what we've been kind of noting ever since the beginning of Better Call Saul. This is how Fabian plays this character, that Howard Hamlin's world is this lifestyle. Howard Hamlin, everything he cares about in life, everything he is the H in HHM. That's his life. And the golf course is the all of that. And we see in this season, we've seen Howard a wreck. He's been outside of HHM and even inside HHM. The place is a wreck. It's in shambles. There are boxes. Basically, we see visually HHM is not doing well, and we build to Howard yet again. Oh, and yeah. Jimmy's picking up the check because he signed the agreement. He's getting the $5,000, which I love on a rewatch, by the way. Jimmy's using this $5,000 for all the stuff later in the episode, by the way.
Sure.
Which is cool. So it's all relative, folks. Jimmy's questioning the empty cubicles and everything. What's with the empty cubicles? And Howard, he's basically saying
so defeated.
He is. He's saying we're reorganizing because essentially they're reorganizing because HHM has taken a hit since losing Chuck, and of course they also have to remember Tiki. I don't know if of course, I don't know, it's been a while. Howard Hamlin invested a lot of his own money to get Chuck booted out of HHM in the first place. So I don't know. Hamlin might be doing rough a little. Again, discount socks, Tiki. Discount socks.
Oh God.
Less socks. More. He's gonna be buying discount off the rack clothing.
Dylan Massett's in the background, like, don't worry, Howard. I have some black socks you can borrow.
I didn't have one to go, darn it. This Howard Hamlin in a fetal.
Black Howard, I'm sorry.
Just like, Howard Hamlin in a fetal position.
But Howard's just pulling his hair out. Like he's trying to give Howard a pat on the back. Like, oh, Howard, it'll be okay. Don't touch me.
I'm just imagining Howard turning to the left, and he's just sobbing into Norma Bates' arms. It's okay.
All right. Enough with the crazy Bates Motel crossover. That'll never happen.
But again, in all seriousness, Howard Hamlin buying off the rack is his worst nightmare. Again, him having to buy commercial. Yeah. Anyway, so Howard Hamlin's a wreck. He's HHM's taken a hit. He's invested. He's lost a lot of money, and of course, you've lost a letter in your logo. That's a big deal. And again, people are, of course, the circumstances in which you excommunicated the guy, and then he died in a fire, which is not coming. So HHM is hurting, and they have to. Let's see. The way Hamlin puts it here is they're right sizing. I just love it's the most BS corporate term you've ever heard, right? Right sizing. Oh God, and of course Jimmy calls him out on this, and this is a big scene. I love
speech. Dragon.
Good. Let me see if there's anything. I think that's man's. Okay, so again, the man is his business, which means Tiki hit him with it. All
right, are you kidding me? I just referred a client to you guys. You're welcome, by the way. And you're telling me this place is falling apart? Get your shit together, Howard. Howard's like, excuse me. Oh, please, you suffer one little setback, and you're gonna let your entire legacy go. One little setback. Fine. Your pain is very special. Woe is me. Just stop wallowing, okay? This place is all you've got. That and your hair, which, let's face it, clock's ticking there too. So you want to save your business, you want to save your dignity, you're going to have to fight. Hey, you're a shitty lawyer, Howard. But you're a great salesman. So get out there and sell. And then, of course, in response, Dragon, we get the one F-bomb of the season. We get Howard saying a fuck you, Jimmy.
There you go.
Very earned F-bomb, Dragon.
And I love Jimmy. Again, Tiki, if we ever had another, of course we had to use the screenshot that we had before because it's perfect. But if we ever had a second one, though, it would have to be Jimmy's Uncle Sam's Saul Goodman pose, which is, there you go. Use that. So, so there's a lot to decompress this real quick. Okay, so the hairline cracked me up. Clock's ticking on. The hairline just cracks me up. But again, the way Patrick Fabian, he's weighed in on the scene interviews, and we kind of went over this in the other episode, but we have to go over it here real quick, is that I love that Howard, all the choices that the way Fabian's been playing the scene, he, again, with the whole corporate thing, that Howard Hammond just wants to keep the lights on and wants to keep everything spinning. Howard, all the actions that he's done in response after Chuck's death is that Howard Hammond sees himself as the good guy here, where, again, he's not a bad guy by any stretch. I'm saying he's been seeing himself as kind of the hero in this situation where he tried to do something nice by telling Jimmy, hey, don't put all that burden on you. It was me. And what Jimmy did is he just kind of broke Hamill by saying, yeah, it is all on you. It was, right. You know, it was just, and that the idea is that
getting to the end.
Yeah. That was basically Howard tried to do something nice for Jimmy. He tried to do something nice for him. And then the way Hamlin sees it is that he tried to do something nice for him. And then Jimmy broke him this season. And then Jimmy's coming in here and he's saying all these very...
Of course, the 1-2 punch of that plus the whole, what can I do? Nothing, Howard. There's nothing you can do.
So Jimmy breaks him.
Like, as we discussed in episode 2, that's like that saying to Howard Hamlin that there's nothing he can do to fix the situation. It's just the ultimate, like, you know, that'll just drive him crazy.
And it's kind of the humiliation of, like, Kim has kind of beaten him even before this, where she, like, returns the check and everything. Like, he gave her a nice gift, like, paying her law school and everything. And like, again, this has been building. Like, he gets humiliated by Kim and utterly destroyed. Like, it adds insult to the injury that he's already been feeling by Jimmy. And we just keep taking away things from Howard here. And again, he's just utterly broken. Then Jimmy's coming in here and saying, like, hey, you're not doing well. Like, basically, Jimmy is making fun of the weakness that he perceives that he would endure if he went to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Basically mocking him for, like, hey, you're look at you, you're in shambles here. What are you doing? You're a crappy lawyer. Again, but here's the way I love it. Here's the thing I love about the scene, though. I love that, again, we saw it kind of Hamlin's been playing out. Patrick Fabian's been playing Hamlin this season. I think the way Jimmy's playing this is Jimmy's trying to legitimately help him via this pep talk. I think he is
so too, and I think, like, one of the big things here is that it's supposed to represent, you know, the difference between how Jimmy approaches a situation and how Kim approaches a situation.
And at the same time, Tiki, I kind of read into it. I think that Jimmy, in part, him giving Howard this pep talk, with this very kind of harsh pep talk, I think Jimmy's trying to, if he can save Howard with this pep talk, like he's chastising the way he could have gone here. He's trying to save himself by saving Hamlin. That's kind of the way I read this scene and the season here, where, you know, he's just trying to, if he can snap Howard out of it, maybe there's hope for him. That's kind of the way I read that scene.
Uh-huh.
Which is why he's kind of putting his gusto in, like, you know, there you go. Because, again, you know, he does have fondness for Howard. Howard, you call him as, you know, Charlie Hustle and everything. Howard's the guy who always had, like, Howard would do this for him in the same position. Maybe not as harshly, but Howard would do this for him. I mean, to be fair, Howard has done this for him, where, you know, Howard was really cruel to Jimmy per Chuck's instructions. So, again, he's kind of given, it's kind of tit for tat in a way. I don't know. So then we have the Mambo de, I'm going to butcher this, Mambo de Acagavera montage. We have this really awesome montage here, just coming from that scene to the next scene here.
Dragon having, you know, working in a thrift store in an alley, and, you know, part of my job is transporting stuff from the alley to the store, and I have to deal with boxes and stuff like that, Dragon. So this is something that kind of hit close to home with me, where it's like, yeah, that's pretty much what my day-to-day grind is like. Just, you know, back and forth, moving stuff back and forth.
Oh, by the way, real quick, just before I forget about it, because I won't have another opportunity to say it, I love that Andrew Stanton got to direct Patrick Fabian. Just want to mention that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so again, this, speaking of Andrew Stanton, again, this is a really well-directed, I love this montage. I thought it was great, where we have this really, really proactive Jimmy. You know, again, basically Jimmy's getting off his, kind of getting back on the horse after something really bad happened to him. How many episodes ago was was it last episode that he got that he got mugged?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know why I was kind of blanking. I was thinking about, I keep thinking about talk because of the earlier scenes. That's why I'm off about that. Anyway, so, Jimmy, he's getting back on the horse, and again, I think that Howard pep talk is kind of scaring Jimmy into being more proactive, possibly. You know, again, he was getting that 5,000 anyway, so I don't know. I think it kind of is the energy behind the scene, maybe. So, Jimmy, he's buying all these burner phones. It's kind of the burner phone plan 2.0, essentially. That's what all this is. He buys $4,000 worth of phones. We see him unload from the truck into the nail salon with one of my favorites. I love Mrs. Nguyen. I don't know why. I love her to pieces. I really do. Because Tiki, here's why I love Mrs. Nguyen. I love that deep down, this lady likes that little lawyer. You know, it's like, oh, that little lawyer's always like he's like the annoying. It's like how Fonzie lived at the top of the Cunningham's garage, and like,
God. Yeah, right.
Howard
Right.
Cunningham's always like, oh, that's Fonzie, but I like him. I think it's kind of what it is at the end of the day. Mrs. Nguyen's like, oh, that goofy lawyer's always kind of coming through, but the girls like him, so that's fine. It's like the old Chow Lady's eyes he's kind of adorable. Fine. I don't know. So we have a lot of really great shots and angles throughout this whole thing. I love the passage of time. Like, you know, like it's such a mundane thing, Tiki, loading all these phones into the office. But we kind of energize it. You know, it's all catchy. So there are 200 phones. But I ran the numbers on this. Those are two. He bought 200 phones at $20 a piece. The burner phones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, so Jimmy, Jimmy's in his office after the montage. He's in his office, and of course, he's already in a cramped office, folks. Bear that in mind. He's always in a cramped office. Not only is he in a cramped office, he's in a cramped office with 200 phones stacked to the rafters. And he's calling the vet. And again, I love that you can tell it's the vet because he's talking about the fish and everything. He's calling the vet, and the idea is he's calling the vet to secure the location for later on. And of course, we drop a big name drop here, pinatas. And again, when he said this, like, oh my God, pinatas! What does Jimmy have cooked up? And of course, he's also facilitating his muscle for later on. That's going to be important.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, would you like to take us through this?
Yeah. I'm sorry. So Mrs. Nguyen has she walks in. She's kind of you know, first of all, she's asking if there's going to be people walking in and out. Jimmy assures her there's not going to be. He's going to sell the cell phones out of the store, or not out of the store, but, you know, not outside of the store. You know what I mean?
I love their interplay. Like the minute she pops in, it's like, oh, Miss Nguyen. It's like I don't know what it is, Tiki. It's just that interplay, that history between these people. Again, like she just she rented out that space and everything, and she in the end, he basically gives her a phone to kind of pay her off, essentially. 350 minutes, free, prepaid. So, and she offers a really great piece of advice, which I think is going to foreshadow the season, Tiki. She says, get rich quick schemes never work. Watch me. Okay. Oh, Tiki, you got to take us through this scene. Take us through the scene.
Okay, let me see. Give me 1 sec to get caught up on my notes here. Oh, okay. Do you want me to recite the whole thing, man? I mean, I can technically do that, but we're gonna be here a while if I do. It's up to you.
We should. This is a big Emmy scene. Got to.
Oh man. Oh god. I wasn't prepared to do the whole monologue.
Look, let me set it up. Or let me set it up.
Set it up. Yeah.
So
okay.
Gus is visiting Hector in the hospital. Again, this is very much like the scenes we saw in Breaking Bad, where he would visit Hector and just kind of taunt him. And of course, in this case, this is like, folks, this is Giancarlo Esposito's Emmy scene for this season. My God, this might be one of the finest scenes that he's done in Better Call Saul. Might be. We have this altar thing, and I tried looking into this. I tried verifying this. We have like this altar of, like, you see, like, it's kind of vaguely like a Day of the Dead thing, where you have like these altars that I don't know if you leave them for people you like or don't like. That's the thing I don't know. I tried to figure that out, because you have like these altars like skeletons and grim reapers and everything. And I know you have altars for like people who are sick and who are dying. I think that's why those are up. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
So Hector has an infection. This kind of setup here is that I'll give you this much of it. All right. So basically, when he gets into the story, that's what I want you to handle.
Okay.
So Gus, basically, Hector has an infection that may kill him. Even if it doesn't, Hector still might not ever wake up again, which of course Gus does not want. Because again, it's like, how can I get my revenge on this guy who's not even cognizant of what's going to happen? And
Dragon, here's one thing I want you to keep in mind. All right.
Yeah.
Remember earlier in the season when we had that whole bit with the nurse saying, he can hear you. Like, talk to him because he can hear you.
Oh my God. That slash shot. Oh my God. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So even though Hector is unconscious right now, like by all intents and purposes, based on what the nurse says in that episode, he can hear what Gus is saying. So just think of how fucking terrifying that is, Dragon.
Oh my god, I
Doesn't that
love.
just elevate this scene?
Yes, yes. Oh my god. So, oh boy,
I
let
mean,
me
by
see.
all intents and purposes, we might not even. Well, I don't know. I could see the doctors just saying like, "Hey, if you want, talk to him. You might help snap him out of it." Oh
Okay,
god.
so Gus basically, and I remember John Esposito, he teased up this scene this season. He said we were going to get into Gus's childhood a little bit, and this is what he meant. So Gus shares a story from his childhood, and how does that Emmy again? He delivers again. John Esposito's finest Emmy-winning scene right here. What does it sound like, Tiki?
All right, Dragon. Before I do this, I just want to emphasize, I'm doing this through closed captions on Amazon, and so just to note, if I have pauses, it's just because I can literally only do it at the speed Giancarlo Esposito performs it. So you'll have to excuse me if there's pauses. It's only because I'm going at the clip. Like I don't have the whole thing written down. I have to go through the via closed captions. So just have that in mind and let's do it. Let's get it.
Oh, the bouncing ball. Got it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I grew up quite poor. I'm not going to try to do the accent. We lived in the hills, in a place my brothers built from things they found. Metal sheeting, plywood. When it rained, it smelled like hay. We were always hungry. But there was a lumka tree. Lacuma? Dragon, help me out here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go too fast for things to roll with it. I'll correct you at the end.
Okay, but there was a
Lacuma
tree.
Yeah, Lacuma.
Scrawny, barely alive. My family had given up on it years before. Never bore fruit. When I was 7, I became fixated on it. I watered it, tended to it. It took a long time. But the buds grew into green fruit. I was so proud. I didn't tell anyone. I plucked one and hid behind our shack. I ate the whole thing. I'd never tasted something so sweet. It was like caramel. At first, we ate the fruit ourselves. Then, I began taking it to the village to sell. One day, much of the fruit was gone from my tree. Pieces were scattered on the ground, half eaten. I thought it was probably a coati. Have you ever seen one? About the size of a large house cat? Opportunists. I built a snare using branches and wire. It didn't take long for the animal to set it off. But the coati thrashed so hard, it broke out of the snare. Broke its leg as well. I tried to grab it, but it slipped away. It ran under the house. I knew it would show itself sooner rather than later. So I waited. For hours into the night. When my brothers called for me, I did not answer. I didn't make a sound. I was so still. Finally, it came out. It knew I was there, but it was hungry. This time I was ready. I caught it. It fought me. but I was stronger. The merciful thing would have been to kill it. Dramatic pause. He gets up, looms over Hector. I kept it. It lived for quite some time. Oh God. Oh. All right, Dragon, again, I believe you will wake Hector. All right. Dragon, again, I apologize for all those pauses in there. Giancarlo Esposito really soaking up the timing in that, really taking his time with it.
Believe me, folks, it doesn't actually read as Shatner. It works within the episode. Trust us.
Yes.
Okay, but seriously though, just the main bits we got to go over. That just like the big observations. One, I love that we
First
have.
of all, I love the performance on his face where he's smiling. He's taking great glee, and again, I'm convinced that he knows that, at least subconsciously, Hector can hear him.
Yeah. I love how the scene shot like he's in darkness in so many points in the episode, and it's so terrifying. And of course, like him talking about staying still, and Giancarlo Esposito in this role barely moves a lot of the time, and it's great. I just love this. I love this upbringing, this great origin story for Gus Fring. He's just this kid, this poor kid from the hills, and he's a self. Think about this, Tiki. Basically, what he says here is like he and his family were self-made builders, which is exactly what Gus Fring is here. He's a restaurateur, and of course, it's a self-made builder. Of course, he's building something right now in this episode. Of course, he ultimately is going to be trying to build an empire. And of course, it's all about hunger. It's all about feeding. It's all about feeding and hunger, which of course is what Pollos Hermanos is all about. So I love that you're kind of seeing the inklings of everything kind of built into this. Again, built into kind of this really big, impactful story from Gus Fring's life. And of course, with the whole Coate, but there we have the parable. And folks, I'm actually using that right for a change. The parable for Hector Salamanca and Gus Fring. Basically, exactly what he'd done to this thing, he intends to do to Hector Salamanca. And of course, what we know for Breaking Bad, that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's very haunting. It's great. And of course, we focus on the hand, which now, thanks to Tiki, I fully get the significance of that hand shot.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, I was like on the edge of my seat, like wondering, is he going to move a finger? Is he going to move a finger?
Dragon, to me, that would have been like the easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Never that obvious.
Yeah, but you're right. You're way smarter. I bow to it. You're way smarter on that. That was great. Okay, so speaking of building something, all of that was just wonderful, folks. Just we could talk about it for another hour, but we're not going to. Getting to the Germans. The Germans are in town, Tiki.
Germans! It's Oscar Schindler!
Okay, maybe. I was thinking more of like...
Should strive to be like Oscar Schindler.
To be fair, though, Hollywood Babylon, they have this recurring segment called The Germans, and it's delightful.
God.
Okay, anyway. So the Germans arrive, and Tiki, this is big. Stefan Kapusek was there.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't recognize. Yes, Stefan.
Dragon, I don't know I know him for his voice, Dragon. Apologies, I have not met this man like you have.
Oh, right. Sorry. I know. I thought I showed you. That's not.
Anyways, which one does he play, Dragon?
He plays Casper, the tallest one. Tiki. He's Casper, the tallest one in the hat. They all have names, which as they come about, we'll get into more like in other episodes, I'm sure. But Casper's Stefan Kapusek, who played Deadpool. Who played in Deadpool? He played Colossus in Dead. Sorry, I forgot the "in" for that for a moment. He played in Deadpool as Colossus. Which is wonderful, and I had the privilege of meeting this guy, and I was very excited with Better Call Saul. We've been guessing like who's going to play this season. I did not see this one completely, but
we thought he was going to play the guy who came after Nacho.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be like Lalo or one of the cartel guys. Neither. He's involved with the cartel, but he's. I wonder if he's going to be playing German this season because he's played a few ethnicities. I wonder if I assume he's going to be German because the rest of them are German.
And the rest of them are German. They're called the Germans as a collective group. So I would assume they're German.
Well, that'll be cool. I haven't really seen him play German. That'll be fun. Okay, so they're all like marveling at like, oh my god, look at this great location. Let's have fun. They're all playing around. They're all like going to the bar. Hey, oh my god, a bar. So then Mike, he calls for a meeting, and then of course
Right, is
Kai.
this one the one with the beard?
Yes, more the beard.
Okay, I got it.
Which I can vouch for. He also has a beard. Last time I saw him, so
Okay.
beard connection correlation there. So again, Mike's calling for a meeting. They all summon around Mike to basically kind of read the kind of the rules and the bylaws, if you will. But there's a straggler, Tiki. Who's that straggler?
It's Kai!
Kai.
Come on now, Kai.
Oh god. So Kai's being a wise guy in this scene, is to say the least. Here, he's being a wise guy. He's getting his beer, taking his time, and drinking at the meeting and everything. Again, Mike's just telling the rules of the road here. It's not even like he's not being like Mike's not even being difficult with the guy. It's just like he's treating him respectfully, to be quite frank.
Right.
So, but again, you can see it on Jonathan Banks' face, like he's saying, "Okay, this guy's a wise guy." The Mike's giving them the lay of the land, like don't leave the premises. If you need anything, ask for their phones, and you basically make a list, and you will get the stuff for you. He's making jokes about like, what about girls? It's within reason. So after that, like they're basically their work tomorrow right now, just kind of get a lay of the land, have fun, for a night before the real work starts tomorrow. Werner, of course, Werner Ziegler, kind of our new guy, and I like Werner.
I love this shot of Werner and Mike walking up to each other and shaking hands. The wide shot.
I really like this Werner character. So there's only 2 episodes in, but I really like him. What do you think?
I do too, and they're definitely hyping him up on the Insider podcast. So I think he's going to be big. I think he's probably going to be a fixture of the show going into season 5.
Based on this scene, I think we got a lot of good things coming with Werner. Werner, he basically very respectfully, he comes again because Mike was his introduction to Fring and everything, so they have a very small bit of history together so far. So Werner, he apologizes for Kai, and he basically the boys. He says, "Look, they're good boys, they're good workers. Once they get working, they'll straighten out." And we show that he respects my favorite detail, Tiki. My favorite detail. He didn't do this all the first time because he wouldn't have had a chance to. I love that he calls him Michael.
Yes.
No one else has ever called Mike Michael. I love it so much. So, and Mike tells him, Mike respects. If you need anything, you call me. So again, there's that handshake, and there's a blooming friendship there. One could hope, So Mike goes outside. He goes to the trailer, and I love this. I love we have photographs. Again, if I really wanted to, folks, we could freeze frame and go through all the names of the guys, but I'm just going to wait till the next episode to worry about that.
All right.
Mike tells the guys to keep an eye on Kai. This photo on the wall is like, okay, watch out for this guy. Oh, and real quick, the security cam thing. When he walked into the room, we homaged season 5 where Mike was visiting his guys at prison, and he has to go to the camera, and he says, he goes to the camera. You have to have the door open from the other side, like bang.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's Mike when he was visiting his guys in prisons. That's a little homage to season 5, a little setup for season 5. Okay. So,
really quick before you get into the next scene, I've been thinking about this, just kind of a trivial conversational thing.
Yeah.
Want to know what my strategy would be for the sleeping situation in this compound?
What?
I would totally just rock one of those lazy chairs.
Huh.
Because it'd be like outside of the houses. You wouldn't be like sleeping on top of everyone. You'd get kind of your own private space. The EG chairs look really comfortable. I could get used to sleeping on a chair. I couldn't get used to sleeping with like a bunch of other guys.
Tiki, that's not a bad plan. I think the logic is that, again, you could always make the argument, well, they can keep an eye on them from the lazy boy chairs, but I'd like to say they have a blanket or something that might be able to somehow sneak. I don't know, maybe if they're all in the same location, we can see if anyone goes in or comes out of the trailer. It'd be easier to track, I guess. Maybe that's it.
You see, I didn't even think about like they had to sleep at anyways, it's not important. Just kind of like a little if the security wasn't a factor there. And honestly, I don't think it would be, because as you said, like you can still see them on the camera.
It's a fair point. I didn't think about it. I get basically if you want a bed, maybe they're not forbidden from using the chairs. I don't know. You never know. It's an option thing. And you might be absolutely right. Go for the chair.
All right, so Dragon, we've already talked about the metaphorical death of Jimmy McGill, or at least the biggest representation of that we've ever gotten on the show. You ready to talk about what is, by all intents and purposes, kind of the birth of like the modern day Saul Goodman? Not just Saul Goodman as a name or an idea, but like the flesh and blood Saul Goodman.
Yes.
Oh man,
So
this is the most intense and scary scene in Better Call Saul history.
it is, and well, to be fair, we had Breath, the ending of Breath. That was pretty, it was,
That and hospital, or the hospital scene from I think it was 4X03 Dragon. Where Nacho's being patched up by the vet. That was also very intense.
right. You're right. Yeah.
But still, I mean, okay, I will say this is easily the most intense scene that Jimmy's ever been involved in.
Right. I mean, you're right about that. I absolutely agree with you there. It's
All right.
absolutely dark. Okay, so Jimmy, I love the shot where again we're hitting all the right shots here. Jimmy's contemplating the cars, looking in the reflection, and again, you got to remember an episode ago. This is really traumatic for Jimmy, where he's got to get the crap beat out of him by these three kids. Again, the three punk kids from last episode who mugged Jimmy, took all of his burner phone money. And again, Jimmy needs to earn a living here. Jimmy has a side business he wants to get going on here, and he can't do that if he's going to be risking getting robbed every night by these kids. And again, I just love you can sense again we're misled here. We the audience are misled here about what Jimmy's going through. I mean, there is a bit again Rorschach test, folks. I'm sorry. Again, Jimmy might be legitimately fearful in the scene, but we know he has like an ace up his sleeve. There's like a plan A and there's a plan B, and plan B happens. So the spoiler alert. So yeah, I love how Jimmy. By the way, Jimmy's in the red tracksuit, which of course all these tracksuits we're getting this season. And Tiki, remember the colors of criminality: red and yellow. So again, this is very befitting that he's in red.
Sure.
The color theory on Better Call Saul. So the colors of crime. So he attempts to just to summarize a little bit here. He attempts to broker a deal. Basically he comes at it from a slipping Jimmy perspective. He didn't do that the first time. He just wrote them off as okay. These are just kind of kids on the side where he really should have seen them as like this. He wrote them off as like the skater punks when they weren't. So he comes at him as slipping Jimmy here, where he says, "Okay, guys, if you don't rob me, I'll give you a steady flow of income. Basically, $100 every night I'm out here, which is a steady flow of income for doing nothing." One kid, by the way, real quick, this is you mentioned your thing about the lazy boys. I get my ridiculous thing.
All right.
Well, the actor who plays the lead of these punk kids, his name's Pee Wee in the cast, by the way. Pee Wee's the one with the blonde hair, the one that looks vaguely Cameron Monaghan-esque.
Vaguely, yes.
Funny thing, the actor's name, no joke, is Tommy Nelson. Now, Tiki, I don't know if this cues up like a little spark in the back of your head or anything. Well, then again, I don't know if you watched it. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead to something we haven't done yet. Sorry. Abbott and Costello meet the Invisible Man. The boxer's name, the Invisible Man in that movie, is named Tommy Nelson. So that's the thing I was thinking of. I was looking at the credits like, oh my, did I just see the name? I thought I saw Tommy Nelson, the Invisible Man from Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man. What do you know? It was a little cutesy observation. I kind of like
right.
Anyway, so they shoot him down. They foolishly turn him down. They pull a knife on him, which is very intimidating, by the way. Pull a knife on Jimmy. It's like, again, they pulled the wool over my eyes. Like, oh, poor Jimmy's in so much trouble. So Jimmy's running away. He runs to an alley. He's cornered. And he's like, and of course, this punk kid is Pee Wee here. Not the good Pee Wee. The good Pee Wee.
Stupidest guy I've ever met.
Yeah, this kid does not have the fine, the fine qualities of the young Pee Wee Herman and Pee Wee's Big Holiday that Deke and I would go nuts for. No Joe Manganiello for this kid. Jimmy had muscle at the ready, cocked their guns. They're fake guns. I don't know, and they're kind of cocking some weapons. And Jimmy brought some muscle. Cut to Pee Wee.
Upside down shot. Room full of pinatas. I don't even know, drinking. Oh man.
So Andrew Stanton believe it or not, Andrew Stanton invented the camera for this episode. He invented the upside down rig for the camera for the shot. That was all that he came up with that. And I got to tell you, it's really well shot. Here's the thing I didn't consider that I kind of was told about, and you absolutely see is that this episode in the editing, what they do, Tiki, is they play with the sense of when you're hung upside down, you kind of lose a sense after a while of what's right side up and what's not right side up.
Sure.
Remember in that Freddy Krueger documentary, they talked about it when they spun the room upside down, you lose your sense of balance and you kind of freak yourself out of like, oh my God, until you realize like, wait a minute, so I'm on the floor, but I'm just upside down. Anyway, so we have this great shot here where the kid we follow the kid as he's hung upside down, like chained upside down. Again, this is like it feels like cartel stuff, by the way. Like you have like these horror stories of guys in cartels who kill other guys and hang them by meat hooks and like butchers, not butchers, in slaughterhouses.
Of course, we saw this in the very first episode of Gotham.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. So this is a very terrifying situation to put these kids in here, and again, they deserved it. Though, to be fair, they really deserved this. Um, so they're hung upside down. Of course, I love we reveal the pinata upside down. I love how they look. It's like, did I just see what I thought? And basically, you piece it together like, oh my god, it's a pinata warehouse.
Yes, a party store, Dragon.
Well, it's a storage. Remember, it had to be an isolated location, so it has to be like a warehouse of some kind. Like it's a big store. It's like a giant, might be like a giant storage, no, storage locker, maybe like a giant like storage thing full of pinatas for a store, okay. I guess. So let's see. So we have this bat that is menacingly. We cut to Jimmy's muscle here, who are armed with bats, and they're dragging the bats across the ground. And then we reveal Jimmy. Again, Jimmy's going darker than we've ever seen him before here. And he basically tells him, didn't know I had friends, did you? So what's it going to be? Fast or slow? And what they're doing here so intimidatingly, so perfectly. This is such a great Tiki. This shot, I did the best directing Andrew Stanton did on this whole thing right here. This is great.
Dragon, I will wager to say this might be the best directed scene I've ever seen out of Andrew Stanton.
It's really good. It's again, the setting is perfect. That's the thing. The setting we see all of basically it's folks. There's a painted picture here. Kind of what you see before you here. You have all these behind them is like a cornfield full of pinatas, and you have these two guys here, two big guys. We're gonna reveal who they are momentarily. Two big guys. And they're using these bats. And by the way, the way they achieve this is they don't fill the pinatas all the way through because it's really hard to kind of get a pinata like broken and down in like one swing. So they had to really just kind of they had to weigh it just right. But they're all filled with candy. Basically breaking pinata after pinata as like they're making their way through the field of pinatas to get to these kids at the very end of it. And it's just this perfect tense setting you cut back and forth between just this cornfield of pinata death. So Jimmy is kind of making his basically putting the fear of God into these kids here. Fast or slow, and as they're kind of making their way down. You're right, Tiki. It does feel a lot like Gotham episode 1.
Yeah, but I mean, like a lot better though, per se. Like,
to be fair, I mean
that is it's and not to say that Gotham was bad or anything, but this is just like high level television right here.
Yeah, I mean, basically they saved the slaughterhouse for like the last minute, but it wasn't like it wasn't like a big set. It wasn't the namesake of the episode,
right? Right.
So as they're menacingly dragging their bats, and basically they're breaking like pinata after pinata.
And of course, Dragon, I love the little tidbit where they had to get basically like hollow, lightweight pinatas to actually make the swinging look realistic.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like they have to convey like strength with those swings. Like basically they're knocking down pinatas with one swing. That's hard to do. And also I love you can hear and see them stepping on the candy. By the way, so I love that and like kind of the sound design. Like, oh my god, they're stepping on the candy. Just makes it's just that little oomph, So
essentially, they had to buy out every pinata in the Albuquerque area for like 3 weeks.
They don't go small on Better Call Saul, folks. They could very easily, but they don't. They go big with the small. If that makes any sense. They go really big with the small.
Mm-hmm.
Go kind of Ant-Man with it, if you will. They swear.
Better Call Saul is far better than Ant-Man.
Hey.
Especially Ant-Man and the Wasp, all right?
Okay, come on, at least specify Ant-Man and the Wasp. All right. Come on, Ant-Man. Anyway, they're going to make Scott Lang cry. So, they swear to people.
Every time.
What's the correlation between Scott Lang and that?
I don't know, I just felt like saying it.
Anyway. Okay, where's a pinata?
I'm not going to dwell on it. Just felt like saying it.
Okay, the point is, Pee Wee here and the band of misfits here, they swear to leave Jimmy be. They'll never see. You'll never see us again. You're going to tell everybody else,
we'll
you're
say not to mess with the cell phone guy.
It's ridiculous. It's again, so they make it work though. So he calls it off, and Tiki, this was a stroke of brilliance, and I love this so much.
Oh yeah,
See,
oh yeah.
so Jimmy calls him, okay, guys, I think they get it. And of course, they keep making their way.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we're done here.
They're making their way, and they're getting closer, and they're terrified.
All right, you know what? If it really means that much to you, go ahead.
And this is the detail that kills me. I love that he turns the one that gave him
them around. Yeah, yeah.
But specifically the one that gave him the most scuff, just to put the because I wanted that guy to suffer most. I gotta be honest. That's the kid I wanted to see some bad happen to that kid. Turns him around, and again, like Bat's getting like takes it up to the very last second. That's what I love. That so goes for the swing, bada bada, hey swing, bada bada, and like a half of an inch away from the face.
Right.
And of course, fear of God has been put into him. They Saul Jimmy here gives them like, okay, you guys can go now. As they're walking off, they take off their mask and we reveal. And again, you can kind of tell this in the body shape. And it was a question of, is it going to be them? Is it going to be him? Is it going to be him? And it is. It's Lavelle Crawford, otherwise known as Huel. It's Huel.
Pretty much from the get-go, I knew it was going to be Huel as one of them.
That's fair. I'm missing like there's a chance because we saw those the big bikers from earlier. I don't know. There was a slim chance it may not have been Huel, but I was hoping for Huel. It's, the obvious way goes Huel, and I like that.
Here's the thing, Dragon. Here's the thing. As awesome as this scene is, the only thing that would have made it better is if fucking Bill Burr would have taken off.
I know. I was hoping for that, but then I saw the size of these guys. I was like, okay, it's not Bill Burr. Obviously, it's not Bill Burr. But
I know Bill Crawford's lost a lot of weight, but I was hoping he was the bigger guy and Bill Burr was the smaller guy.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. You know who the bigger guy is, though? He's I don't know if you know.
Mountain?
Yes, Man Mountain.
Yeah.
You remember Man Mountain?
I really need to rewatch season 1. It's been some time. I know he was like one of the crazy clients that Jimmy took on a montage or something like that.
No, he wasn't. That's not it at all.
Oh, well, what was it then?
He was in the best episode. He was in episode 9. He was in Pimento.
Like involved in the Price situation, right?
Yes. Like the 3 guys and Mike. He disarmed the one guy, and he basically the Man Mountain. He says, "What about you? You want?" Because basically he's called Man Mountain because the one guy made. I don't know if obviously his actual name is not Man Mountain, but the other guy made fun. Say, "Hey, what about
last name Mountain?"
What about you, Man Mountain? You want in on this? And then basically Mike turns to him and he says, "I have all these guns. Do you want one?" And he runs away because he's afraid Mike's gonna.
Okay. Yeah. Right. I know exactly what you're talking
about.
And
I love that Jimmy. Again, I love how we're connected. Again, we connected Mike and Jimmy through the grief thing, as I mentioned before, whole loss of Maddie and all the losses that Jimmy's endured through the series.
Sure.
And I love that we kind of connect them through. Jimmy gets, of all the connections that Saul Goodman has, Jimmy gets the leavings of Mike's guys. He gets like the Price's, not even Mike's guys. He gets the leavings of Price's guys. The guy who ran away at the first sign of trouble. But again, in this case, he's really good at just breaking pinatas. This guy can do it. It's a little bit Man Mounds like he's a big marshmallow at the end of the day, but he can break pinatas. That's the kills me. But seriously, with the Bill Burr of it all, though, what's so great about that, Tiki, is that this is the origin of the Saul Goodman con. That years later, Bill Burr and Huel will be like, "You see, Huel, are you happy?" Reasonably. Like, this is the origin. You see what I mean? This is the origin of that. That's great. That was your one warning. You get one warning, and that was it. So then we have the last shot is them upside down and spinning. Again, like us, the audience, where our heads are spinning. We're all turned upside down. We thought Jimmy was going to go dark, and like, no, he's just clever, and he's so good. And like, oh, my God. And that's the end of the episode.
I mean, honestly, Dragon, this might be the darkest we ever see Saul Goodman even in the entire Breaking Bad timeline.
It is.
Like, this is truly his, like, Walter White, like, I've heard it compared to the moment, the whole, this is not meth.
I think you're right about that. This is Jimmy's equivalent to this is not meth, but the closest thing we've ever had to a dark moment with Saul Goodman is he tried to pull a gun on Jesse, and he failed miserably, so that's why I'm kind of a little iffy on bringing it up, but he held a gun once.
Uh-huh.
Just once. So,
All right.
So
promo. Go ahead.
Okay, folks. The promo for episode 7, which of course is Something Stupid. I'm not insulting the episode. I'm saying it's the episode title. Something Stupid. Jimmy's scouting out a building for lease. Interesting. You didn't get a good view of the building, so I can't tell you if
I
it's
hope
Saul
it's a
Goodman.
laser tag place.
It didn't look like it, but
Wishful thinking. I know it's probably not true.
I really hope you're quoting that. Tell me you're quoting that episode. I know you're. Wishful thinking.
Yep.
Okay, Jimmy's in broad daylight. Jimmy's in a tracksuit, being called out as, "Are you Saul Goodman?"
Oh, this has me worried, Dragon. It really has me worried.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I just get a bad feeling about this situation.
All right. Let's see. Hector's awake. Yeah.
Yeah, which, by the way, that really shouldn't have been something that was spoiled in the promo.
I agree with you, and now I feel kind of bad bringing it up. But I mean, it was a promo, folks. They did it first.
And also, we have a full clip of Hector with the doctor on the AMC YouTube.
Well, to be fair to you, they do that all. They do that all the time. Though.
Okay, yes, but to be fair, like the clip for this week's episode was Mike meeting Stacy, which wasn't exactly it was a good scene, but it wasn't exactly a groundbreaking, like monumental, shake up the status quo kind of scene. Whereas, oh, gee, Hector awake. Okay, that's big.
You got a point there. I'll agree with you there. Yeah, you got a point. Let's see. Kim is. Kim's mixing things. This is a big one, Tiki. Kim is mixing things up with the DA that we saw dealing with Mike that episodes ago. So basically, we've seen the DA of Albuquerque, and Kim is mixing it up with the big DA, and that's big. That's something big. Let's see. Mike and Warner, they're bonding. Kim and the big thing that left off is that Kim and Jimmy are kind of mingling with Rich Schweiker at a function of some kind. Also, we see casual Gus. Gus in his kind of Mr. Rogers sweater.
Oh God.
To be fair, it's not a cardigan like Mr. Rogers, but he's like wearing that. Basically he's at his house, presumably. Okay, speculation. What do you got?
All right. Well, obviously, with the Howard's end of it all, I'm pretty damn convinced at this point that Howard's going to be the big death of the season. I don't want it to happen, but honestly, like given the storyline and everything, I don't know how much more there is to do with Howard.
Why is it season 4s always have those deaths that you know are necessary, but you never want to? Why? Like, why? I know it needs to happen, but
As I already said, I think at this point Jim and Kimmy are done. It's Jimmy and Kim are done. It's kind of like an inevitability at this point. I think that the way that we're gonna tie Jimmy into the mob stuff is we're going to, or the cartel stuff, is because we haven't seen Nacho in a couple episodes. Nacho's due to come back.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to tie it, I think by the end of the season, we're going to firmly have a concrete answer on the whole, it was Ignacio. I think that loose end is going to be tied up by the end of the season. And I think that's going to be basically, I think Jimmy's going to get roped into that through the doghouse somehow.
That's possible. Something's occurred to me that, bear in mind, you could have it both ways if you really want. Even you could have it you could have it where, before he's in business as Saul Goodman, this could happen. Therefore, it's why he wasn't found instantly. But if, in Breaking Bad, when he's on his knees like that, the idea is that he was recognized as Saul Goodman, which implies he has to be Saul Goodman before he has that, that whole Ignacio thing happen. So that's interesting, but I mean, it's something that's occurred to me.
The thing is, I always associated the "Are you Saul Goodman" with I think someone's recognizing him from the Saul Goodman commercial, not necessarily the Saul Goodman that we're thinking of.
That's a very good. That's an excellent point. So you might. Never mind. I think you're right on that. So let's see. Okay, let me say it real quick.
Because unless we do a time jump, at the beginning of the next episode, which it's possible. I'm not taking it entirely off the table because this was a very big episode and it almost feels like the end of a chapter in a way. So
if they really wanted to,
if we do a time jump, I don't think we're going to establish the actual Saul Goodman persona until the end of the season, but it's going to be a big ride getting there.
Like, if they do it again, you know what's gonna happen. You're gonna see Saul Goodman and Nacho in like kind of like the kind of that pre Breaking Bad area, like right before that Walt and Jesse stuff. Like, hey Nacho, how's it going?
I have a feeling we might just see the Walt and Jesse stuff from a different perspective at some point.
I'm sure we're gonna do that. I just think we're gonna do that next season.
Okay.
But then again, I was wrong about we got some of it this season. So you never know.
Uh,
Okay, let's see. I think Jimmy's definitely diving into the Saul Goodman kind of the foundation of Saul Goodman with the building and everything. I think that's what he's aiming for.
right, right.
Let's see, and I think that's broadly. I think that's kind of what he's doing with. He's going to be trying to do with Kim. I think he's going to try to win Kim over with Saul Goodman in some way. I think, like again, I think the Jimmy McGill who was an elder law, like that's done. But I don't know. I think he's going to make a failed attempt to get Kim in with him on this. Like he's going to I think Jimmy's. You know what it might be? Jimmy, like the un if assuming Jimmy doesn't find out about the lie or anything, even if he does, even if he doesn't, I think the big betrayal might be if Jimmy tries to con Kim. Like that's his point. That's like when he's crossed the big line. That's when he's crossed like the ultimate line where he's conned the woman that he loves.
Uh-huh.
And I think that con might be he tried to con her into getting in with Saul Goodman and everything. And maybe like he's I don't know that's a little pin of a theory to kind of we'll see how that develops. Let's see. So again, Hector Salamanca is obviously he's going to be awake, and I think Hector Salamanca, him coming to next episode. I think what we're going to see is that Gus is going to be in a really good mood next episode. I know that sounds really simple, folks. What I'm getting at here is I think things are going to be going great for Gus. He's going to get the good news, like wonderful. He's going to be visiting Hector to mock him a little bit. And then later in the episode, I think this is going to get us to is he's going to invite Gail to his home. Is what he said in the also in the promos. He said, "I kept you from your work long enough," which very much implies Gail Bedecker, and we're at Gus's house. He's in the sweater and everything, which implies okay, he's going to invite Gail over to dinner. Which again, he's getting closer to Gail Bedecker. So I think broadly, Gus is in a good mood to invite Gail over for dinner.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, Kim. I think, oh boy, I think Kim's going to get a little overly ambitious with the.
I definitely think we're gonna see like a big falling out between her and Mesa Verde.
I gotta tell you, I think Kim. I'm really worried for Kim this season, Tiki, because I think Kim's in everything. I think she's getting in over her head, and I think like Jimmy could be the very last straw for her. But I think what's going to happen ultimately this season is going to dawn on me is that.
Oh wait, I have a theory about Kim, but get to it. Go ahead.
Well, again, we know she's going to be like kind of calling out the DA, so I think she's basically going to, not intentionally, I think she's going to end up burning all of her bridges by. And this is the master stroke I think they did this season, Tiki. Again, we mentioned that she's kind of emulating Jimmy's arc in the Better Call Saul series, where she's in the PD phase, and I think this episode she's going to be this episode and the whole Mesa Verde thing. That's her Davison Maine phase, like all this Schweiker and Coakley thing, Tiki. I think that's her. She's going to be jumping again. What she's doing with Jimmy right now, she says, "Oh yeah, they offered me a job and everything." And I get a sense that Kim hasn't filled in Mesa Verde on this whole banking thing. Like the idea, Tiki, is that she's going to take her Mesa Verde stuff and basically she wants to pawn off all of her Mesa Verde stuff to Schweiker and Coakley so she can focus on the DA stuff. I'm sorry, on the the PD stuff. And what that means is that she's breaking her promise to Mesa Verde, which is I'm going to handle all your stuff personally. And again, I think Kim's like she's counting her chickens before they hatch, like Jimmy did with the commercial. What that means is that she's in doing that. Again, like she's not going to betray the client. Like she's doing this to help Mesa, help them. Like do right by them. And I think that's Kim's kryptonite, that she put too much pressure on herself. Where I made a mistake with Mesa Verde, and I want out of this anyway. So I'm gonna do right by them. Like she made one mistake, and she's kind of overblown it in a way. Like she bit off more than she can chew in making recompense. Like Kim, you just made one mistake. Why are you doing this to us? I'm just not right for it. And I think I think everything's gonna blow up in Kim's face with the Schweiker and Coakley thing. And it's bad things are coming for Kim this season. I'm afraid.
Bad things like possibly her getting addicted to meth.
What?
I don't know. I just think it'd be an ultimate kind of like ironic, like gut punch of, what if Kim becomes another Wendy in the ABQ verse? What if she, because of the, loosely connected to the relationship with Jimmy, goes down a really dark road, and through no one else's blame. But I don't know. That's my theory. I know it's unlikely, but it'd be pretty dark if it actually happened.
I remember they've joked that been many a joke that Wendy is Kim Wexler in Breaking Bad.
You see. Also, Dragon, there's a possibility. Like, this is a slim possibility, but it's a possibility. All right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility that Kim and Jimmy never separate, but they're just very, very unhappy with each other. And they're just one of those couples that just resent the hell out of each other, but never get away from each other. And I say there's a possibility because, as we've kind of said, like, through the mission statement of the show, like, we don't know Saul Goodman's personal life at all. Anything that he said to Walter White could be hearsay or lies.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the idea that I'm sorry, I keep trying to say Kimmy and Jim.
Well, that's the shipping name, Tiki. You
Yeah.
Kimmy.
But I don't know. What do you think? Wouldn't it be even more heartbreaking if Jimmy and Kim like stay together, but they just keep negatively influencing each other more and more, and not separate to grow stronger as individuals?
Let me tell you this, Tiki. Kind of it's an excellent segue to my last bit of spec here. That Kimmy and Jim. Darn it! Now you got me doing Kim and Jimmy. This season, I think they're going to get to a low point, and there's a good chance that they're going to be together. They're going to start Saul Goodman before Kim gets exactly what that means. I think she's going to end up like at the end of next episode. I think things are going to blow up in Kim's face, and I think that she's going to help him start Saul Goodman, and she's going to think it's a good thing. Like, we're starting like Wexler McGill, but as something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Wexler McGill, again, she won't take that name, but there's something's going to happen is going to get him, like, her being implicit in the beginnings of Saul Goodman. And I think ultimately what's going to happen is, like, once she finds exactly what that means, she's going to be scared off by that. But broadly, I think you're absolutely right in that, Jimmy and Kim together, it's going to be like a toxic result. The two of them maintaining in each other's lives after the scene that we had this episode, it'll become toxic, and they're going to poison each other with what they're trying to do. Like, she's creating Saul Goodman the more she stays around him, and Jimmy's kind of crushing her happiness by again putting her on the. I think they're going to. I would love it if I think it's a fascinating way to go if she was around during Breaking Bad, but I still wonder. The inkling I still wonder is that I think even in Breaking Bad, I think there's going to be I'd say it, Tiki, because I still want your Omaha thing to happen. I got to be frank. I want your Omaha thing to happen, but I still think I'm going to meet you halfway. I think she's going to be complicit in Saul Goodman to an extent. I don't know if it's going to be to all the way in Breaking Bad. I think she's going to be complicit in Saul Goodman. I really do.
Okay.
And again, also just the last little footnote here. The whole the share thing, basically the thing that I think Kim's legal story, the thing that she set up in the cold open. I still think that's coming back. I think that's how he's going to like buy the building for. I think it's going to correlate in the Saul Goodman. I think it's how he's going to get the money to begin. That's how he's going to get all the money for startup capital for Saul Goodman.
All right.
Like that whole share plot thing. Okay, all that said, I guess do we do final thoughts or do we make the call?
Let's make the call and do final thoughts.
All right, let's call our old friend Mrs. Nguyen.
All right.
505.
Hold on. Okay, 505.
842.
842. All right.
What?
Hello?
I'm sorry, Tiki. 1 second here. I paranoid here. 1 second. Okay, I got it. No, we're all good. We're all good. 5325.
Okay. 5325.
Afraid I had the wrong number. We're all good.
Spa and Nail Best in Albuquerque. This number is for day spa and nail customers and future customers only. Please, leave a message or call back when we are open. Do not leave a message if you need a lawyer, unless you want spa and nail services first. Thank you for choosing Day Spa and Nails.
I just noticed this, but I really like the pleasantry of like, yeah, you know what? If if you're calling to get your nails, then fine, leave a message about the lawyer stuff. If you're gonna kill two birds with one stone, essentially.
God, I love Mrs. Newman.
All right. So Dragon, as my final thoughts, I'm just gonna read off my very short social media reaction to the episode.
Are you sure about this?
Yeah. Well,
okay, go. Just want to make sure. Okay, go.
It's gonna be as bad as the Luke Cage thing. Come on.
No. I'm just saying. I just wanted to cover a base. Okay, if you go on with it, do you think?
I never thought a room full of pinatas could be so terrifying. The transformation of Jimmy McGill into Saul Goodman continues to be among the most riveting storytelling I've ever experienced. And that's it.
All right. Okay. Final thoughts for me. It's a great episode about Jimmy. Basically Jimmy taking an emotional beating, and by the end, essentially with the pinata of it all, it's we get to a point where it's a guy not taking it anymore. He's not taking that beating anymore emotionally. He's kind of moving forward as Saul Goodman. He's going to take his destiny into his own hands and use his mastery of cons and tactics to kind of make his way. Again, he's been hurt emotionally. He's taking it out on other people, essentially. Basically, the episodes is that turning point of there's no turning back at this point. He's not turning back anymore. Again, Jimmy McGill, again, a big part of Jimmy McGill, the elder law, the good intentions, that's dead, and he can't go back. It's a point of there's the point of no return. Anything going forward will be a dark, okay, now even if he's with Kim, a lot of the love has been lost, and it's really haunting. It's again, I love I love Andrew Stanton's direction. I love how we got some. Now, again, yes, I'm in the bag for Stan. I acknowledge that. But by the same token, though, I think we got some really good emotional shots that we usually don't have in Better Call Saul. We have great shots that we factor great story significance into. But I think there was emotion conveyed in the shots, which really don't have a lot. I thought that was kind of a little impressive signature of Stanton that we got there. Again, the guy who made us care about the little fish egg from the beginning of Finding Nemo. It's that little, those little things. And by the way, all the people on the Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, they are huge fans of Wall-E, by the way. Actually, got Andrew.
That's not my favorite Andrew Stanton movie, but to each his own.
Doesn't it make sense though? They would love that movie because it's all about kind of silence and it's kind of conveying a lot. It makes sense that they would love that. And Andrew Stanton signed their Wall-E collectibles, which I thought was really nice. So it's a fun It's fun and it's rich with performance, especially with Gus Fring against an Emmy performance for Giancarlo Esposito. And I think it's a well-oiled machine plot-wise, too. I think we get a lot accomplished here, and it's really good. And, of course, the ending is sublime. So a lot of love for the episode.
All right, take us out.
Remember, kids, when you get that phone call, make it count. Better Call Saul. Saul Goodman & Associates is the one-stop shop for all your legal needs.
And with that, we are adjourned.
We could totally be lawyers.
Totally.
Pinata!